Chapter 3450. The plan at the Cloudy Mountains had failed. Bio received the news in just 2 days. His heart sank to the bottom. He'd spent a lot on this plan. He didn't expect it to fail at the last step, and he even lost a grandmaster in the field of sacred runes. Little White and the others had already entered the Lone Moon territory, and there were indeed scouts from the various forces of the immortal domain everywhere. It would be more difficult to plot and scheme in the Lone Moon territory. Even if they won, they would be seen as having an unfair advantage. The Lone Moon territory wasn't big. Little White and the others would arrive at the Lone Moon City in a month at most. The scouts and countless warriors who came to watch the battle were excited. They were about to witness a battle between the young masters. This was a battle that would go down in history. Lord Yu and the others were even more careful. It turned out that Bio was good at using dirty tricks. He almost fell for it twice. If it weren't for Luli, Lord Yu and the others would have died. Little White would have either come to the Lone Moon City to be humiliated, or he would have to go back with his tail between his legs. Therefore, in the minds of Lord Yu and the others, Luli had a high status. Now, no matter what Luli asked them to do, they wouldn't hesitate and would follow his instructions. This little warrior of the Overlord realm had brought them too many surprises. He had too many strange tricks up his sleeves. The old warriors looked at him in a new light and respected Lu Li from the bottom of their hearts. Nothing unexpected happened on the way back. Bio seemed to have given up and didn't dare to do anything rash. After flying peacefully for more than a month, the battleship arrived at a small city near the Lone Moon City. Little White gave the order to rest in the city. At the same time, he wanted to get in touch with the scouts from the eastern region to figure out the situation and prepare for the final battle. Little White and the others entered a separate yard. This yard was bought by the scouts from the eastern region, and they were just waiting for Little White. When Xiao Bai and the others entered the city, they attracted the attention of countless warriors in the city. Originally, there were only 1 million warriors in the city. During this period of time, there were more than 3 million warriors. 2 million warriors came to watch the show. After activating the sacred runes, a Saint King from the eastern region came in and handed some documents to Little White. Little White threw them to Lu Li after a few glances. Lu Li then gave them to Lord Yu and the others. After all the experts were done reading, Little White glanced at them and asked, "Tell me, how should we fight this battle?" After being tricked a few times, Little White was no longer as straightforward as before. It had learned to think and fight fiercely. Starting a war in someone else's territory could easily lead to total annihilation. The records were very detailed. Everything that happened in Lone Moon City over the past year was recorded, including the number of strong cultivators in Lone Moon City and the number of troops. The information of every single strong cultivator was listed neatly. Lone Moon City had already been cleared out. The ordinary martial artists had all left. There were only 1,000 soldiers left, as well as 10 cultivators who were infinitely close to the consummate level, and Bio. This was Bio's response to White E's challenge, and it was also a display of his pride and boldness to the world. If you Lu Xiaobai bring 10 experts, then we will also bring 10 experts. King against king, general against general, we will decide the victor. If it was in the past, the experts wouldn't have had too many doubts. But now, they didn't believe that Bei Ao didn't have any arrangements. This Lone Moon City looked like there was nothing. There must be a lot of arrangements inside. The most basic thing was that the city must have been set up with divine runes to weaken their battle power and increase the battle power of Bio's side. In more than a year, Bio could set up a vicious soul evil spirit array in the Yin Mountains. There was no reason not to set it up in Lone Moon City. The problem was, even if there were arrangements in Lone Moon City, they had to go. Why did they come all the way here? Bio was obviously waiting for them in Lone Moon City. Now that they were about to arrive, they didn't dare to go. That wasn't Little White's style. They had to go to Lone Moon City. Let's see how this battle would be fought. Yufeng was the first to speak. We'll go to Lone Moon City, but we'll fight them outside the city. As long as we don't go in, we won't be afraid of any arrangements inside. What if Bio invites us into the city? Old Yin asked. There will definitely be spectators outside the city. Vio invited us into the city for a chat. Should we go in or not? What old Yin said was a problem. This was not just a battle between Little White and Bio. It was also a battle between the King of the North and the King of the East. The whole immortal region was witnessing it. If Little White didn't dare to enter the city after Bio's invitation, the outside world would think that Little White was a coward. There's nothing to say, Old Kai said coldly. Let's not talk nonsense with them. When we reach Lone Moon City, we'll attack first and raze Lone Moon City to the ground. We'll destroy all their arrangements and force them to come out and fight us. Lord Yu nodded and said, That's right. We don't need to declare war or reason with them. We'll just fight. Anyway, the whole immortal region knows what we're here for. We'll force them out and fight outside the city. It'll all depend on our own abilities. Little White nodded and said, Let's do as Uncle Yu and Old Kai said. We'll rest tomorrow and fight the day after tomorrow. How are we going to fight this battle? Does anyone have any strategy? Lord Yu seemed to have a plan. He said, Young Lord, Old Kai, and I will be the main attackers. We'll attack Bio directly. The rest of you cover us. As long as we can injure Bio or kill him, this battle will be over. There's a problem here. Should we kill Bio or not? Kill, Little White said with a murderous look. If I don't kill him, I won't be able to vent my anger. Before I came, I asked my dad. He said that if we can kill him, it doesn't matter. The King of the North won't say anything. After all, it was Bio who broke the rules first. Then let's kill. Lord Yu's expression turned cold. He said in a deep voice, Old Yin and the 7 of you cover us. Young Lord, Old Kai, and I will be the main attackers. We'll try to kill Bio as soon as possible. Once Bio is dead, we'll be without a leader. The other powerful warriors won't fight with their lives on the line. This battle will be over. Boss, Little White was satisfied with this train of thought. He turned to Lu Li and said, How about you don't go the day after tomorrow? You can stay here and support us. Lu Li hadn't said anything. When he heard Little White's words, he actually nodded and said, Okay, then I'll wait here for your triumphant return. I hope that everyone will be careful and conservative in this battle. Bio is very cunning. Okay, Little White nodded excitedly. Lord Yu and the others were disappointed. They had thought that Lu Li would join the battle. After all, he had many tricks up his sleeves. At the very least, Lu Li should be watching on the side to keep an eye on the situation and prevent Bio from playing tricks. They didn't expect that during the final battle, Lu Li would be so scared that he didn't dare to go to the Lonely Moon City. But on second thought, the other powerful warriors didn't think too much about it. Lu Li was only an Emperor Realm warrior. Even if he had some tricks up his sleeves, he wouldn't be of much use in a real battle. Therefore, Lu Li's presence was not essential. Also, Little White valued Lu Li. If Bio and the others attacked Lu Li, Little White would be distracted, which could lead to a disastrous situation. Okay, go and rest for a day. We'll leave in the morning after tomorrow. Little White waved his hand, nodded to Lu Li, and walked toward the room. Lord Yu and the others left as well, leaving Lu Li alone in the hall. Lu Li was still holding the information in his hand. He read for an hour before he sighed and said, This battle is not as simple as I thought. What is Bio's plan? Chapter 3451. Lonely Moon City was very big. It originally had more than 3 million residents, but now it had become an empty city. There were only 1,000 troops left, as well as Bio and 10 supreme powerhouses. Today, these 1,000 troops were sent out to form a simple security perimeter 2,000 miles outside the city. No martial artists were allowed to enter within 2,000 miles. Of course, even if other martial artists were allowed to enter during this time, they wouldn't dare because the news had already spread. Lu Xiaobai was here, and the battle was about to break out. Warships from a dozen nearby small cities rose into the sky and flew towards Lonely Moon City. Countless martial artists flew over. By the time the sun was high up in the sky, there were already 10 million martial artists gathered here. Most of these martial artists were from a northern region. Basically, they were here to cheer Bio on and to witness the battle of the young kings. The The south side of Lonely Moon City had the most martial artists. There were thousands of warships here, many of which were very luxurious and large. There were many powerhouses inside, obviously from the big clans. The surroundings were also bustling with noise and excitement. Groups of cultivators gathered together and chattered incessantly. It was as if there were hundreds of millions of bees buzzing in the vicinity. Look, the shadow butterfly race is here. It's said that the first lady of the shadow butterfly race is very fond of young Master Bio. I wonder if this lady is here? The first young master of the Goo race is here too. Look, the young master standing on the 6th warship is him. It's said that this young master is good friends with young Master Bio. I wonder if he will interfere in today's battle. They won't interfere. They're just here to cheer. This is the young king battle. Even young Master Bio won't allow them to interfere. Everyone look to the right. Old Demon Guanshan is here too. That's that ball of light. That's old Demon Guanshan's unique skill, dazzling divine art. If he uses his full strength, all the martial artists nearby won't be able to see anything. He's probably here to cheer for young Master Bio, right? Conservatively speaking, there are a few hundred powerhouses infinitely close to the great perfection realm here to cheer today, right? When that immortal beast from the east comes, won't his legs turn to jelly when he sees this scene? Clamorous discussions rose and fell in the surroundings, and exclamations could be heard from time to time. Many of the big shots who rarely appeared were here today. Many of the big clans in the north could be seen. The great clans of the north couldn't interfere, but that didn't stop them from sending their younger generation to watch the battle. This was also to boost Bio's morale and pressure Whitey and the others. Xiao Bai and the others were fighting in an away game. With so many experts from the great races suppressing them, it was inevitable that they would feel pressured. When the battle started, they would have some misgivings and would not be able to display their full strength. There were more than 100 large clans in the northern region. At this moment, almost half of the young masters and young mistresses of the large clans were present. No one could say anything about the younger generation coming to watch the battle. They weren't here to help. So who would be an eyesore if they were here to watch the battle? After waiting for more than an hour, Whitey and the others still hadn't appeared. Behind them, tens of battleships arrived one after another. However, some of the battleships didn't have any flags or divine inscriptions on them. Hence, it was impossible to tell which clan's experts were inside. Among them, there were 3 battleships that attracted the most attention. These 3 were obviously top-grade battleships. It was difficult for ordinary large clans to possess such battleships. Some martial artists sensed the surroundings and discovered that there were several powerful auras inside the warships. This meant that there were many experts inside, and their identities were extraordinary. He's here. After another hour, accompanied by an exclamation, a battleship flew over slowly from afar. That battleship didn't have its shield on. Lu Xiaobai stood on the deck with Lord Yu and the others. His white robe fluttered in the wind, and he had an extraordinary bearing. His aura was very powerful. Little White's arrogant and unruly eyes scanned the surroundings as if he was patrolling his territory and not here to participate in a world-shaking battle. After Little White and the others flew over slowly, the battleships on this side opened their shields one by one. Many cold gazes swept over as if they were demonstrating their strength to Little White. They were here to cheer. Naturally, they had to put on a show. If Bio won, they could say that they had contributed. One of the 3 mysterious battleships removed its light shield. A young master appeared on the deck with 6 absolute experts. That young master first laughed 3 times to attract the attention of all the martial artists. Only then did he say loudly, "Brother Xiao Bai, I am Min Shiyu. I came from the Do realm to cheer for you. Fight well and eliminate Bio." Wow. Everyone was in an uproar. The surname of the king of Do realm was Min. This was the descendant of the king of Do realm. He came from the faraway Do realm just to cheer for Little White. Lu Xiaobai glanced over, and Lord Yu said telepathically, "The king of Do realm has a good relationship with the realm king. Young master, this is an ally." Little White smiled. He cupped his hands and said, Thank you, brother Min. I will invite you to the eastern region for a drink. Humph. At this moment, the other mysterious battleship also deactivated its shield. Then a tall man in a red robe appeared. He snorted and said, Lu Xiaobai, I came from the Origin Realm just to see how you will die. Origin Realm? Everyone looked over. Since this man dared to say this, he must be the descendant of the Realm King. Little White glanced over coldly. Lord Yu also took a look and said, Yuan Yin, the strongest of the young generation in the Origin Realm. The Realm King made a mess in the Origin Realm and killed 4 cultivators in the Great Perfection Realm. Little White snorted and said, A small fish in the Origin Realm dares to be so arrogant here? After I destroy Bio, I'll have some fun with you Origin Realm cultivators. Back then, my father could kill as many people as he wanted in the Origin Realm. I, Lu Xiaobai, can do the same. Wow. Everyone was in an uproar. Lu Xiaobai was too arrogant. The battle of the king of the northern region was not over yet, and he declared war on the Origin Realm. This man's temper was exactly the same as the king of the eastern region. They were indifferent to life and death. Ha ha ha. Yuanin laughed and said, Go back to the eastern region alive first. If you die here today, I will burn 3 incense sticks for you. Ha ha. A bell-like laughter sounded. The shield of the third mysterious battleship disappeared, and 7 or 8 powerful cultivators appeared. An enchanting woman standing on the deck attracted the attention of countless warriors. Many martial artists glanced at it, and their eyes immediately revealed an infatuated look. Some martial artists even stared blankly. Lu Xiaobai looked over, and his eyes lit up. This woman was too beautiful. Her appearance was absolutely perfect. Most importantly, her temperament was very special. She was enchanting to the bone. A casual look could ignite a man's desire for the opposite sex. This was a femme fatale. The woman smiled sweetly. She glanced at Min Shiyu and Yuan Yin and finally at Lu Xiaobai. She said with a smile, Qi Shir of the mysterious realm greets you. Young Master Xiaobai, Shir has heard of your prestige and specially rushed over from the mysterious realm. You can't let Shir down. Heavenly Charm Fairy Fox, Qi Shir. Exclamations of shock rang out once more, as the hearts of many cultivators pounded violently. This was none other than the extremely famous young clan leader of the Qi clan in the Profound region, a Heavenly Charm immortal fox that only appeared once every 100,000 years. Of course, Little White had heard of Qi Shir. The light in his eyes soon disappeared. He murmured, Nice beauty. Too bad you're a beast. If you were a human, I would take you back as my wife. M. Chapter 3452. Fortunately, Little White's voice was very low. Otherwise, if Qi Shifu heard it, he would probably go berserk. Whitey was an immortal beast, but always looked down on other immortal beasts as beasts. This made Lord Yu and the others feel very uncomfortable. Calling Qi Shir a bastard was not only insulting himself, but also the king of the eastern region. Immortal beasts were indeed immortal beasts. They weren't like low-level animals. Many immortal beasts had super high spiritual intelligence. They were no different from other races. Super immortal beasts could be said to be an extremely powerful race. The king of the eastern region's battle prowess could sweep through half of the immortal realms. Wasn't this proof enough? Although Qi Shir was an immortal beast, she had transformed from a young age, and it was a permanent transformation. Therefore, to the young masters of the immortal domain, Qi Shir was a goddess, one of the most ideal companions. The gazes of Min Shiyu and Yuan Yin became scorching hot. The 2 top-notch young masters even started to strike up a conversation with Qi Shir, and Qi Shir responded with a smile. On the other hand, Little White wasn't very interested. It only responded with a few sentences and looked at Lone Moon City in the distance. He no longer paid attention to the situation around him. Lord Yu and the others also did the same. They entered a state of battle. He had already scanned the area with his divine will. The city was quiet and empty. There was only one castle that had its divine imprint activated. He was unable to detect the situation inside. It seemed like Bio and the others were inside. Xiao Bai, Lord Yu, and the others glanced at each other and prepared to take action. The warship flew into the warning area and stopped. The surroundings gradually quieted down. Some small warriors retreated a little because they knew that the battle was about to begin. On the other side, Qi Shi and the others stopped talking and waited to witness this shocking battle. Later on, they would also fight. Every realm king had a fight. Otherwise, how could they convince the masses? Although these realm kings were all inherited by the clan, each clan king had to go through many battles to be selected. A realm king didn't just need a realm, but also combat power. The strong would rise and the weak would fall. The descendants of the realm kings all had a high starting point and abundant resources. However, if you can't win every challenge, then the resources of the tribe will slowly decrease. Take the Bei family, for example. If Bio failed this time, the resources and importance they would receive in the future would decrease. If he won, the Bei family would definitely nurture him with all their might. That way, his chances of becoming a realm king would increase greatly. Hence, this battle was very important to Whitey and Bio. Qi Shi, Yuan Yin, and the others were also very important to the spectators. They had come from hundreds of millions of miles away, not only to cheer, but also to observe and learn. Little White waited for a moment and shouted, "Come out, Bio. We agreed on a battle in Long Huang Mountain, but you tricked us with your schemes. You have broken the rules. Today I, Lu Xiaobai, am here to take your dog life in public." Under normal circumstances, Lu Xiaobai would have waited for Bio to respond before making a move. The two sides would first engage in a war of words. You say I'm wrong. I say you're wrong. They both have to represent justice. In the end, no one could convince the other, so they fought a great battle. However, it was different this time. After Xiaobai roared, Lord Yu and the others unleashed their attacks and brought out their magic treasures. Dozens of streams of light tore through the void, startling the soldiers nearby. The terrifying aura also made many cultivators feel suffocated, and even more cultivators retreated in fear. Boom, 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 boom. How terrifying was the attack of a cultivator who was infinitely close to the perfected stage. The city did not activate the shield, so the buildings in the city were instantly blasted into pieces, and the ground of the city was blasted into a huge pit. In just one round of attack, the huge city disappeared, leaving only the castle with the activated divine runes standing alone in the ruins. Countless cultivators around blinked in confusion. Although it was too easy for the Bei family to build a city with their strength, Lone Moon City had hundreds of thousands of years of history. But Lone Moon City had hundreds of thousands of years of history and could be considered an ancient city. What were Bio and the others doing? What were Bio and the others doing? Why didn't they come out immediately to defend? If Bio and the others came out earlier, there would be no need for the battle to take place in the city, and this ancient city would not have been destroyed. Little White and Lord Yu exchanged glances, feeling a little confused. There were actually no traps in the city, and they easily blasted it open. Below the city, there were only some simple city protection runes, and because they were not activated, they were blasted open. Most importantly, at this moment, Bio and the others still had not come out. What were they doing? What kind of sinister plot was he hatching? Something is wrong. Among the onlookers, a warrior of the great Emperor realm murmured. That warrior was Lu Li. He could not wait in the small city. As soon as Little White and the others came out, Lu Li used the traceless way to sneak over. Little White and the others were out in the open, while Lu Li stayed in the dark. This was better. He did not need to take any actions. He just needed to check and warn Little White and the others. Lu Li had begun to check. Just like Little White and Lord Yu, he found nothing. Blood Fairy had gone underground and was checking an area with a radius of thousands of miles. What surprised Lu Li was that there was nothing in an area with a radius of 3,000 miles. Apart from the castle, there was nothing wrong. Blood Fairy sensed 11 powerful warriors in the castle. She did not dare to get too close. If there were 11 powerful warriors, then must be Bo and the others. The Lone Moon City had been destroyed. What were Bo and the others doing hiding in the castle? Did they think the castle could stop Little White and the others? Luli could not figure it out. He had to keep checking. On the other side, Lord Yu, Lu Xiaobai, and the others checked and found nothing wrong. They were a little puzzled. What was Bo playing? They checked several times and waited for the time for dozens of breaths. Still, Bo and the others did not do anything. Little White shouted, "Attack! Break down the castle." A city had been destroyed. Why would Little White care about the castle? Break down the castle and see where Bo and the others were hiding. There were no inhibition formations under the castle. Little White and Lord Yu could put their minds at ease. Boom, boom, boom. The 10 powerful warriors were bombarding the castle. Little White did not take any actions. It stood in midair with its hands behind its back, proud of itself. After a while, the group of powerful warriors even split up a little to surround the castle. In this way, the castle would be under attack from all sides. The energy of the shield would weaken quickly. "Attention," Lord Yu said. "Later, when the castle is breached, Bo and the others will make their moves. We will stick to our original plan. You will stop the 10 powerful warriors and help us. Kai, young master, and I will attack Bo. As soon as Bo dies, this will be the end of the battle." The powerful warriors were nervous. The energy of the shield was diminishing quickly. Soon, it would be breached. Once it was breached, the fierce battle would begin. Their strategy was to capture the leader first. But what if the other side was doing the same? The other powerful warriors were attacking Little White as well. What if they wanted to kill Little White? If Little White died, none of the powerful warriors would survive. The master of the eastern region would tear them apart. Chapter 34:53. As the shield of the castle grew weaker, not only Lord Yu and the others were getting nervous, but so were the onlookers. They were checking with psychic power at all times, afraid to miss the most exciting scene. Luli was even more nervous. He believed that Bo would not sit around and wait for death. How could a strategist who was used to dealing with his enemies not make plans at the final moment of the battle? How could he just wait and do nothing? Therefore, there must be something in the castle. It was just that Luli did not know how. Theoretically speaking, in a small castle, even if there were something, it shouldn't affect the overall situation. A formation of amplification? A formation of destruction? A formation of entrapment? Or some strange things in there? The powerful warriors were hundreds of miles away from the castle, and they were on high alert. Even if there was something in there, they would react immediately and retreat. Those old guys were not playboys. They had gone through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. They were more experienced than Luli. Boom! The shield of the castle burst open. Without the protection of the divine glyph, the entire castle collapsed at once. The palace walls were turned into dust. Smoke billowed up. In the midst of the smoke, a glaring ray of light came out. The ray of light covered up half of the sky. The powerful warriors tried to use psychic power, but realized that they could not penetrate into the ray of light. Little White, retreat. Instinctively, Luli felt something was wrong. The ray of light reminded him of the teleportation altar used by the 3 devils of the curved island. He sent a message at once, but it seemed that it was too late. The ray of light covered an area with a radius of more than 300 miles. Little White and Lord Yu were all enveloped by it. In the center of the ray of light came a huge swirl. From the swirl came a powerful suction force. 11 people near the swirl were sucked in at once. Then Little White and the others flew into the swirl. Lord Yu and the others were powerful, but they could not stand the suction force. At this critical moment, Little White took out the pagoda and tried to get into it. However, at that moment, the suction force in the swirl suddenly increased. Before Little White could get in, it was sucked in. Little White. Luli was taken aback. Since Bo had built such a formation to suck them into a strange world, there must be something in that world. Little White and the others would be in danger. To Luli, Little White was his little brother. Now that his younger brother was in danger, how could he sit still? He only hesitated for a breath of time. then hurriedly moved stealthily, taking the initiative to rush towards the vortex. Xiao! Luli was so fast that he disappeared in the blink of an eye. None of the onlooking warriors had time to react. Moreover, the suction force of the surrounding 500 kilometers was very strong. The nearby martial artists also retreated in fear. Luli released the traceless way. Not even warriors that were infinitely close to the consummate realm could see him. Of course, even if he were to show himself, no warrior would notice him. Many warriors quickly retreated to avoid being sucked in by the whirlpool. The surroundings immediately became noisy as people discussed incessantly. What's going on? Was this whirlpool an innate existence? Or was it set up after? Isn't that obvious? This was obviously set up by someone else, by a young Master Bio. Why did young Master Bio set up such a thing? They were all sucked in. Where are they sucked to? They must have gone to a small world to fight. Sigh, we came so far just to watch the battle, but now we can't see anything. We've suffered a great loss this time. Young Master Ao is going to win this time. They must have gone to a terrain favorable to young Master Ao. Lu Xiaobai is going to lose. Our northern region will finally suppress the eastern region. Ha ha ha. Young Master Ao, this is the battle of the young kings. Isn't it a bit inappropriate? After all, this isn't a fair battle. Wouldn't the other realms of the immortal region gossip about this? What's there to say? Lu Xiaobai came here to die. This was his home ground, so he naturally had an advantage. Young Master Ao has the final say on where to fight. Lu Xiaobai was careless and got sucked in. Who can he blame? That's right. It was 11 against 11, soldiers against soldiers, generals against generals, kings against kings, and they weren't taking advantage of them. This was their home ground. So what was wrong with choosing a favorable terrain? Even if you set up some divine inscriptions, it would still be reasonable. After all, divine inscriptions are also a part of one's battle prowess. Am I right? There was an uproar all around. Most of the onlookers here were martial artists of the northern region, so they were naturally biased. They all spoke up for Bio. Only the martial artists of the outer realms were somewhat displeased. In their hearts, the battle of the young kings should be an open and above-board battle. Using strength to suppress the opponent, what's the use of some schemes? Even if you can win this time, can you win again? Can you always rely on schemes to win? Can you rely on battle prowess infinitely close to the great perfection realm to kill a great perfection realm? In the face of absolute battle prowess, all schemes were fleeting. Humph! On the warship, Qi Shishir was a little dissatisfied. She directly said in front of everyone, Bio is still the same. He has no strength and can only rely on some tricks. What future prospects can he have in the future? Miss Shishir, you're wrong. Yuan Yin shook his head and said, this world doesn't care about the process, only the outcome. As long as you can win, any means are not important. Even if you're an emperor, as long as you can kill a great perfection realm, everyone will recognize your strength, right? You can't say that. Min Shiyu waved his hand and said, usually it doesn't matter how the battle is, but now it's a battle of young kings. This is a battle between kings of the same level. This battle will attract worldwide attention. Not only is it a battle between Lu Xiaobai and Bio, but it's also a battle between the king of the eastern region and the king of the northern region. Bio has lost his bearing and also embarrassed the king of the northern region. That's right, that's right. Qi Shishir nodded and said, I came all the way here to watch the show, but Bio made such a mess. He doesn't have the bearing of a young master of the Bei family at all. Does the Bei family not have any powerhouses in the younger generation? I think the Bei family will completely collapse in a few tens of thousands of years. Their position as the king of the northern region will not be stable. Many of the powerhouses of the northern region nearby heard Qi Shishir's sarcasm and all glared at her, but no martial artist dared to act recklessly. Qi Shishir was followed by 7 powerhouses, and Qi Shishir was also a powerhouse who was infinitely close to the great perfection realm. Most importantly, Qi Shishir's identity was the young master of the Qi family of the mysterious region. Whoever dared to touch her would face the crazy revenge of the Qi family. Besides, With Qi Shishir's noble identity, who knew if there were any great perfection realm powerhouses around to protect her? If there were, the consequences would be unimaginable. Lu Xiaobai, do your best. Qi Shifu suddenly shouted at the maelstrom. You must defeat Bio. If you can win, I will consider marrying to your eastern region. Lu Xiaobai naturally couldn't hear Qi Shishir's words, but the surrounding martial artists were envious and jealous. At the same time, they were also a little puzzled. If the young master of the Qi family of the mysterious region really went to the eastern region to be the princess, then who would inherit the position of the family king in the mysterious region? Chapter 3454. Little White and the others were sucked into a strange space. Instead of being attacked by Bio's warriors, they found themselves in a world filled with fog. Psychic power was cut off here. It was not an illusion. They were standing on the ground. The spiritual qi here was rich. This must be a secret area or a small world. Soon, Luli came in as well. He could not stay invisible anymore, which startled Little White and the others. Little White was about to attack when it saw Luli. Little White yelled in surprise, "Boss, how come you are here?" Lord Yu and the others were surprised as well. Then, they changed their opinion of Luli. They had thought that Luli was a coward. Now, it seemed that they had misunderstood him. Let's not talk about this. Luli looked around solemnly. Let's have a look around first. Our enemies can attack at any time. Little White stopped paying attention and stayed on guard. Lord Yu and the others were on guard as well. They formed a circle. Luli closed his eyes and used the trace of Tao to sense the surroundings. At the same time, he let Blood Fairy out to check the surroundings. Bio would not suck Little White and the others here for no reason. This place must be full of danger. At least, this place was advantageous to Bio. They were confident that they could win here. Otherwise, why would Little White and the others be sucked in? The enemy was in the dark while they were in the light. Not only did Bio know the situation here like the back of his hand, but there were also many traps here. Therefore, it was dangerous for them to come in. They could all be wiped out if something went wrong. If Bio were to lose his mind and ask a warrior at the consummate level to stay here, then none of them would be able to leave this place alive. Luli sensed that this was a stable small world. There were no divine glyphs nearby. Psychic power was cut off here because this small world was probably built by a warrior at the consummate level. Luli sensed the stamp of the warrior in here. Lord Yu sensed for a while, and his expressions became awful. He confirmed Lu Li's speculation. This is a small world made by a warrior at the consummate level. I wonder if the warrior is still alive. If not, then he must be in this small world. The other powerful warriors sensed it as well. There was a strong stamp of a warrior at the consummate level here. If the great perfection expert who created this small world was still alive, then he must be inside. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to casually let martial artists enter, much less lend it to Bio. This expert should be dead. Lao Kai thought for a while and said, this small world has existed for a long time, and there aren't many living beings in it. I sense a decaying aura inside, and even a consummate wouldn't dare to help Bio so openly. Regardless of whether anything happens to us, the Realm King definitely won't let him go. It's not worth it for Bio. The experts nodded slightly. It seemed to make sense. Paragons were all transcendent existences, and Bio could not mobilize them. Even if they were related to Bio, it was impossible for them to gamble their lives with the lives of their entire race. If Bio won, he might become a young tribe leader, but he might not necessarily become the tribe king. If this matter were to be exposed, then the entire race would be wiped out. Hence, no great perfection deity would dare to take such a gamble. After figuring this out, all the powerhouses felt slightly more at ease. As long as there wasn't a great perfection stage powerhouse, all the powerhouses still had a fighting chance. If there was a great perfection stage powerhouse, then all the powerhouses wouldn't have to do anything. They could just wait for death here. After probing for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, there was still no movement nearby. Lu Li and the others were puzzled. Bio must have set up this place for a long time, right? Logically speaking, as soon as they came in, the setup should have been activated so that the powerhouses wouldn't be able to figure out the situation inside and would be too tired to deal with it. By that time, if they attacked in coordination, then the powerhouses would be in grave danger. Luli guessed that there could be two reasons why they didn't act immediately. Either they hadn't set it up yet, and they needed time to do it, or they had other plans, or the setup here had already been quietly activated, and they just hadn't discovered it yet. Luli was more inclined to the second reason. It had been such a long time. With Bio's personality, how could he not have set it up already? He began to sense with his heart. After a while, his eyes suddenly opened, and he said, "The Reiki here is not right. It contains a strange energy. Everyone, feel it carefully." Lord Yu and the others were shocked. They tried to sense it carefully. Soon, Lord Yu shouted, "Everyone, hold your breath. Don't absorb the Reiki here. There is something wrong with the Reiki here." The other powerhouses could feel it. There was a strange energy mixed in the Reiki here. But the energy was rare. If they didn't try to sense it carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell. It was like being near a garbage dump and smelling a stinky odor. The atmosphere here was rotten to begin with. The powerhouses didn't pay much attention to the extra special smell. The energy didn't corrode source energy or attack the soul. Since the powerhouses had noticed it, they would take it seriously. They all began to secretly expel the energy from their bodies in case something went wrong. Something went wrong immediately. Soon, Lord Yu shouted, "There is something wrong with the energy. We cannot expel it and refine it." The other powerhouses noticed the problem as well. The energy that entered their bodies was like maggots in their bones. They tried several ways, but they couldn't expel it. The energy was strange and unique. It was like a poison, but it was also like an evil, dark energy. The energy was not aggressive, and it didn't cause any harm to the body. But there was a strange energy in the body. This was an element of uncertainty that could go wrong at any time. They had to deal with it. Luli was the only one who didn't panic. The swirl in his realm of magic took a turn, and all the strange energy in his body was sucked away. Then he walked over to Little White and grabbed its arm. Little White was surprised. Then it said with joy, "Boss, what is this? You have absorbed all the energy in my body?" The other powerful warriors were stunned. They had tried many ways, but none worked. They didn't expect that Luli could solve it so easily. How could he help others? Luli moved around quickly, helping the warriors to dissolve the energy in their bodies. He just took a casual walk, and all the energy in their bodies had been dissolved. The other powerful warriors were relieved. The energy was an element of uncertainty that could be manipulated by enemies. Once something went wrong in their bodies during a fight, it could be fatal. Luli had relieved them of their worries, and now they could attack with full force. "Let's go." Lord Yu waved his hand, and the powerful warriors moved forward. They cannot stay here forever. They must find Bio and the others and find a way out. Chapter 3455. After walking around for a while, Luli and the others realized that they were in a valley with only one path. Lord Yu and the others didn't go in rashly after they found the passageway. Maybe Bio and the others were waiting to ambush them. They also noticed that there were runes on the small world. They could not fly too high, or the gravity would be too strong. They knew nothing about this place, but Bio knew it like the back of his hand. If they were not careful, they could be ambushed and killed. "I will go in front," Luli said. Little White objected at once. "Boss, your defense is not strong enough. You cannot go in front. I will go in the front, and you can stay behind me." Lord Yu said, "How about this? Brother Hu and I will go in the front, and Luli will be in the second row. You have strong senses. You can tell us if anything happens. Brother Hu and I are strong in defense." Okay, Luli didn't argue. He could go into the Dharma realm at any time, but he would not be able to react if he was ambushed by several powerful warriors. He would be blasted to death before he could go into the Dharma realm. Lord Yu and Old Hu each released a defensive sacred art. Lord Yu condensed a black light shield, while a treasure appeared in Old Hu's hand. The two powerful warriors walked forward slowly with Lu Li and Little White following them. The other warriors were in the third row, ready to take action at any time. The good situation had turned into a difficult one. Lord Yu and the others were even thinking about failure. It would be difficult to win. It all depended on whether they could get out of here alive. At the exit of the valley was a long valley. The haze was even thicker here. Visibility was less than 30 feet and psychic power could not be used. Luli could only see for more than 30 miles when he used the Mark of Tao. Little White, try and see if you can go into your East King Tower. Luli told Little White after some thoughts. Little White took out the pagoda and went in. Luli nodded. Little White's safety was guaranteed with the East King Tower. He thought he could put Little White into his interspatial artifact and then bring it into the Dharma realm if things went south. The valley was long. They had been walking for thousands of miles, and they still hadn't reached the end. There was no danger along the way. Luli didn't detect any lurking warriors, and there were no divine patterns or formations. Stop! Dozens of miles later, Luli suddenly shouted. Lord Yu and the others immediately stopped and were on full alert. Xiaobai asked, "What's wrong, boss? Are Bo and the others in front?" "No." Luli shook his head and said, "There are divine glyphs 50 miles ahead, and they are very powerful divine glyphs. I'm afraid that if we go there, we will be attacked or suppressed by the divine glyphs. At that time, Bo and the others might come out and attack us." "Can these divine inscriptions kill us?" Little White asked. Luli shook his head. "The distance is too far, I don't know. There's no rush. Let's wait here. If we don't get close, the rune won't be able to attack us. Let me see how I can solve it first." Unravel divine inscriptions? Old Yin blinked his eyes and asked, "Divine inscriptions from 100 miles away? You can break the formation from a distance?" Divine could not be used here, so Old Yin did not know of blood fairies' existence. Psychic powers were cut off here. It was beyond his knowledge that Luli could crack the formation from 30 miles away. He was also wondering if Luli was just putting on show. "Calm down, Elder Yin," Luli said with a smile. He did not explain too much. He just waited for Blood Fairy to crack the formation. Little White told the warriors to wait where they were. There was no need to rush in the current situation. Safety came first. Time moved on. Soon, 2 hours had passed. It was eerily quiet. Bo and the others did not come out or take any action. Luli still had his eyes closed and said nothing. The warriors had to wait patiently. For hours later, Luli opened his eyes and said, "Okay, the divine glyphs are cracked. Let's go." Old Yin and the others were not entirely convinced. They felt that the divine glyphs were cracked without Luli doing anything. Could he crack formations from a distance using psychic power? The group of experts moved forward slowly and soon arrived at their destination. Old Yin immediately looked at the nearby ground and carefully examined it. Soon, his face was filled with shock. There were divine glyphs on the ground and signs of cracking. Clearly, the divine glyphs had just been cracked. How could Luli do it from a distance? Back at the mountain of dark clouds, Luli also sat with his legs crossed and didn't seem to be doing anything. Even so, he cracked the 10 formations easily. Unfathomable. Patriarch Yin looked at Luli with mixed feelings. In terms of divine glyphs, Old Yin was convinced. Luli was better than him in this regard, and not just by a little bit. Lord Yu and the others noticed as well. They looked at Luli, amazed by his strange abilities. Little White's eyes glowed. He gave Luli a thumbs up and said, "Boss, you're good at divine glyphs. I think you're the best in the immortal region." Luli didn't want to hide the truth from the others, but he didn't want to hide it from Little White. He said, "Little White, this is not my skill. It is Blood Fairies. You must remember that Bloodvine. She has evolved many times, and she has talents in divine glyphs. She has been studying divine glyphs. Now, she is very accomplished in this regard." "Oh, I see." Little White nodded. He had been wondering. Luli was young, and he had been fighting all the time. He had been through a lot, and he did not have much time to cultivate. Where do you get the time to study divine glyphs? Divine glyphs would consume a lot of time and energy. The Bloodvine is yours. This is also my boss's ability. My boss is awesome. Little White sent a sound transmission over, giggling in a carefree manner. The powerful warriors were in danger, and they could all be wiped out. Yet, Little White was smiling happily. Luli was speechless. The powerful warriors moved on. An hour later, they were out of the valley. The haze was gone. A plaza was in front of them. On the plaza was a magnificent palace. The powerful warriors took a look. Their pupils contracted in fear. Then they felt relieved. On the palace stood 11 powerful warriors. One stood in the front, and the other 10 stood in a line. They stood on the eaves, looking down coldly. Bio and 10 warriors that were almost at the complete realm. Finally, Bio and the others showed up. The fact that they could show up meant that there must be something in the palace. Given Bio's character, he would not start a fight unless he was absolutely sure. On the other hand, it was better for Bio and the others to show up than to hide in the dark. They could fight openly. Even if Bio and the others had set up something, they would not be afraid. Only the unknown would terrify people. Little White saw that Bio's eyes were red. He was filled with killing intent. He shouted coldly, "Bio, you coward! You finally dare to show up? If I don't cut off your head, I will change my surname to yours." Chapter 3456. Ha ha ha. Bio stood at the top of the palace with 10 powerful warriors behind him, making him look particularly majestic. He laughed and said, "Lu Xiaobai, are you stupid? If I can appear in front of you, then I must have the confidence to win. How can you boast so shamelessly? Aren't you afraid of making a fool of yourself?" Bah! Lu Xiaobai was enraged and said sarcastically, "You despicable and shameless bastard. It's one thing to play tricks in Gongwang Mountain. I, Lu Xiaobai, came to the northern region with only 10 powerful warriors, but you played tricks along the way. Never mind that. I have arrived at the Lonely Moon City, and you don't even dare to fight me face to face. You only dare to play tricks. Are you a descendant of the Bei family? What kind of hero are you?" "You are wrong." Bio shook his head and said, "Since ancient times, the winner takes all. Means are not a problem. As long as you can win, then it is a matter of ability. If you can kill a warrior at the absolute realm, then the entire immortal region will not say that you use tricks or underhanded means. They will only say that you are powerful. It's not like I didn't wait for you at the Lonely Moon City. You accidentally got sucked into the Lonely Emperor universe. Who can you blame? Cut the crap." The East King's saber appeared in Lu Xiaobai's hand, and he shouted, "What is the rule today? King against king? General against general? Do you have the guts to fight me?" "Of course I do." Bio shook his head and chuckled, "But I will not fight you one-on-one. You have 3 supreme divine weapons, and I have none. This is unfair in itself, right? You are also a super immortal beast with the sky-swallowing skill. If I fight you one-on-one, then I am not a hero, but an idiot. Then there is nothing to say." Lu Xiaobai flew up and looked back. After Luli disappeared, he no longer had any scruples and shouted, "Kill! Kill!" Lord Yu and the others had just checked, but found nothing. There was nothing to say in this situation. Even if they didn't do anything, Bio and the others would. Since everything was under Bio's control, they had to fight to the death. Perhaps Bio would not kill Whitey in this battle, but Lord Yu and the others must. Otherwise, how could they win this battle? As long as he could kill Lord Yu and the others and severely injure Whitey, this battle would be perfect. "Come." Bio smiled faintly. With a tap of his leg, his body floated backwards. The 10 experts behind him soared into the sky, charging towards Lu Xiaobai, Lord Yu, and the others. Lord Yu and the rest had been surveying the surroundings, but there weren't any divine inscriptions in the vicinity. This caused them to be extremely puzzled. Since Bio chose to fight here, it was impossible that he didn't set up any divine inscriptions. Buzz! At this moment, a mysterious aura suddenly spread out from a palace. This aura enveloped an area of tens of thousands of kilometers, including Lord Yu and Lu Xiaobai. This is the beast-suppressing immortal formation. Lord Yu and Old Yin looked at each other. The expressions of the 10 experts changed drastically. They finally knew what Bio's trump card was. There was a beast suppression immortal array here that could suppress the might of immortal beasts. The king of the eastern region was an immortal beast, and most of his subordinates were also immortal beasts. Lord Yu was an immortal beast, Old Yin was an immortal beast, Old Kai was also an immortal beast, and Yufeng was also an immortal beast. This time, 7 out of the 10 experts sent by the king of the eastern region were immortal beasts, including Little White. However, there was a beast suppression immortal array here, and it was clearly fused with the Dao seal of a perfected expert. The beast suppression immortal array was created by a supreme expert 3 million years ago. At that time, there were more immortal beasts in the immortal domain. Because many immortal beasts didn't have intelligence, they wreaked havoc everywhere. Many martial artists in the immortal domain were killed by immortal beasts. After this expert created this beast suppression immortal array, more than half of the immortal beasts in the immortal domain were wiped out, and 80% of the powerful immortal beasts without intelligence were killed. Many immortal beasts with combat strength comparable to perfected experts were killed by iron bloodshock, and it was because of this beast suppression immortal array. This array had no other use, and its only use was to suppress immortal beasts' combat strength, and it could suppress them by 30% to 40%. In other words, Lord Yu and the rest combat strength was suppressed, and they only had about 60% to 70% of their peak. The experts that Bio brought with him were similar in terms of combat strength. Under the situation where the 8 experts' combat strength were suppressed, there was no need to guess who would win. Bio's side would definitely win. Xiao Bai had naturally heard of this array, and he immediately roared, "Bio, you are shameless. You actually set up such an immortal array? Are you a man or not?" "You are wrong." Bio stood at the peak of the palace, shook his head, and said, "I can't set up such an immortal array. It has existed here for a long time. It was set up by the lone emperor, and it has nothing to do with me. As for shamelessness, I still have the same words. You have 3 supreme divine weapons, and I have none. This is unfair in itself. Since you can use the supreme divine weapons, why can't I use the array? Everyone will use their own methods, and there's nothing more to say. Kill Bio first." Xiao Bai roared angrily, and he took the lead to charge forward. His body suddenly turned into his original form, and a phantom image appeared behind him, and he locked onto an absolute expert in front of him. Heaven swallowing divine skill. An absolute expert in front of him was shocked, and he quickly dodged to the side. Whitey let out a sharp cry and rushed forward. Lord Yu and Lao Kai followed closely behind it. The rest of the experts began to attack in a frenzy. This was the strategy they had agreed upon, and in this situation, they had to carry out this plan even more resolutely. Only by killing Bio could they win this battle. Otherwise, Lord Yu and the other 9 experts would definitely die. If Bio died, the other 10 experts' desperate efforts would be meaningless because they would only be rewarded if Bio won. Ha ha ha! Seeing Xiao Bai, Lord Yu, and Lao Kai rushing towards him, Bio burst into laughter. A violent aura suddenly rose from his body, and his momentum soared. His body glowed with dazzling white light, and a giant axe appeared in his hand. He charged toward Xiao Bai without fear. "Young master, be careful. He might have taken an immortal elixir to increase his combat strength." Lord Yu felt something was wrong, and he shouted. Xiao Bai didn't care, and released the heaven-swallowing divine skill. A phantom image appeared above his head. The stomach of the phantom expanded, and a black air current enveloped Bio. Then, Bio was sucked into the giant phantom image. Wow! The moment Bio rushed out, the chi of heaven and earth in the sky above Lonely Moon City fluctuated. Then a very strange scene appeared. A huge image appeared above Lonely Moon City. It was like a video played by a memory crystal. This image was actually the scene of Little White and the others. There were tens of millions of martial artists outside Lonely Moon City, and they were all depressed. They had come all the way here to watch the show, but they couldn't see anything. Now, a video suddenly appeared, and it was the scene of Xiao Bai and Bio fighting. All the martial artists were excited. Heaven-swallowing divine skill, young Master Bio, is finished. An exclamation sounded, and the tens of millions of martial artists outside held their breaths, staring at the image. Although they didn't know why this image appeared, they could tell at one glance that it was definitely real. The next moment, the tens of millions of martial artists in Lonely Moon City, including Qi Shi, Yuan Yin, and the others, were all stunned. Whitey's phantom image sucked Bo in, but the phantom image collapsed in an instant. Then, Bo swung his huge battle axe and fiercely struck Whitey's body. Whitey's small body was instantly blasted into ground. Not only did Bo not die under the heaven-swallowing divine skill, but he also injured Lu Xiaobai easily. Chapter 3457. Of course, the video did not appear for no reason. Bo had set it up beforehand. Bo had spent over a month to set up the video. Just as Luli thought, if Bo could spend a year to set up the formation at the Mountains of Dark Clouds, how could he wait for death in the Lonely Moon City? He had discovered the Lonely Emperor universe a long time ago. He knew there was a beast suppression formation here as well. How could he not make use of such a formation? With this formation, Bo was sure to win. Therefore, Bo had to think about how to get Little White and the others into the Lonely Emperor universe, and how to make the entire immortal region acknowledge that he had won. Winning was easy. For example, he could hire a perfect completion warrior or gather 20 or 30 powerful warriors to win. But the immortal region and the Bei family would not acknowledge it. Instead, it would tarnish the Bei family's reputation. The immortal region would laugh at the Bei family and him. The video was the key. The beast subduing immortal array was invisible. It was impossible to see the beast subduing immortal array from a video. From a video, it looked like the 11 experts were fighting against Little White's group. On the surface, it looked very fair and no one could find fault with it. As for him swallowing an immortal pill that increased his combat power, no one could say anything about it. Lu Xiaobai had 3 supreme divine weapons, but he didn't have a single one. Supreme weapons were external objects. What was wrong with him using elixirs to increase his abilities for a short time? Little White could take elixirs as well. One had to admit that Bo's strategy was impressive. Through this video, the tens of millions of warriors outside could witness it. The memory crystal would spread across the immortal region. The master of the East region could not find fault with it. He knew he had been set up, but he had no proof. He could only suffer in silence. Even if the warriors in the immortal region knew about the existence of the beast suppression formation, they would not say anything on the surface. Without any proof, the Bei family could say that it was a false accusation. If one could do something and make others suffer, the races in the immortal region would think highly of him. The Bei family would think highly of him. In the video, Little White was smashed down. Lord Yu and the others dashed toward Bo. 2 powerful warriors dashed out from Bo's side. They worked with Bo to attack Lord Yu and the others. Lord Yu and the others were defeated. It wasn't just Lord Yu and the others. All the other experts were suppressed. 7 out of 10 experts were suppressed. The 10 experts on Bo's side had about the same battle prowess as the experts on this side. If Bo's side could not suppress this side, then all of them would be trash. Xiao, a black shadow rushed out from the ground, and White Yi's body flew out. This time, it turned into its human form. With the pagoda in one hand and the Eastern King's saber in the other, it charged towards Bo. There was a trace of blood in his mouth. That attack just now had injured him. If it wasn't for his strong physical body, he would have been severely injured. His eyes were filled with anger. His battle prowess was being suppressed, and Bo had swallowed an immortal pill. Under such circumstances, the heaven-swallowing divine skill was unable to do anything to Bo. Although he was very angry, he was not stupid. He did not continue to release the heaven-swallowing divine skill. That would consume his vital energy. He was prepared to use the supreme divine weapon to kill Bo. Boom! He had just rushed up when 2 streams of light shot towards him from the left and right. Because Little White's battle strength was suppressed, it could not enter the pagoda in time. Its body was smashed down again. Boom! Boom! On the other side, Old Yin, Old Kai, and the others were sent flying one by one. In such a short time, 5 or 6 experts were injured. The battle was one-sided. It felt like they were not on the same level at all. Wow! Lone Moon City was in an uproar. The noise was so loud that it hurt the ears of the martial artists. Most of them were cheering for Bio and his group. Many low-level martial artists did not know what was going on. They only felt that the martial artists from the north were very powerful and that the martial artists from the east were trash. They were easily suppressed. The Bei clan had ruled the north for hundreds of thousands of years. The Bei clan's prestige in the north was very high. The martial artists of the north respected and feared the Bei clan. Bio was one of the most outstanding young masters of the younger generation of the Bei clan. In the hearts of many low-level martial artists, he was the young lord. On the other hand, the Eastern region's king was famous in the Celestial region for being cruel and tyrannical. Most importantly, the Eastern region's king was an immortal beast. In the hearts of many martial artists, he was a beast and was different from them. That was why the martial artists of the north hated and looked down on the Eastern region. Little White was so arrogant and dared to charge into the north with only 10 powerful martial artists. This angered many martial artists of the north. There were so many martial artists here to watch the battle because most of them were here to cheer for Bio. Now Bio was so mighty, easily suppressing Xiaobai. This made the group of cultivators feel great from head to toe, feeling honored. Many martial artists shouted for Bio to kill Little White. Kill this arrogant, immortal beast. They did not care if the Eastern region's king would take revenge. They just wanted to vent their anger. Yuan Yin's primordial region had a feud with the Eastern region's king. He did come this time to see Lu Xiaobai die. At this moment, there was no joy on his face. Instead, he was surprised. Not only Yuan Yin, but there were also Qi Shifu and Min Xiu. There were also many powerful martial artists who were infinitely close to the perfected level. All of them had the same expression. Surprised, confused, puzzled. Bio and the others were too strong. Little White and the others were too weak. Just now, many powerful martial artists had sensed the battle prowess of Lord Yu and the others. They were peak martial artists below the perfected level. But now, their performance was too weak. Many of the experts that Bio brought with him knew them very well. In the past, they weren't that strong. So there must be something fishy here. Things were too strange. The beast suppression and mortal formation could not be seen. This was an invisible aura that was released. No one could tell just by looking at the image. They didn't see any powerful divine inscription grand formation nearby, only a single formation protecting the palace. So the group of experts were all very bewildered. There was no doubt that Bio had set it up. It was just that they could not see where it was. Qi Shifu watched for a while and looked at Min Xiu. He asked, "Young Masterman, what's going on? How did Bio and the others become so strong? This doesn't make sense. What do you see?" Min Xiu frowned and shook his head. "I can't see anything from the image. I can only be sure that Bio played some tricks. This is a very powerful move. Lu Xiaobai is finished this time. Lu Xiaobai's defeat will ruin his reputation. He will become the laughingstock of the immortal domain. The King of the East only has a few thousand years to live. He will not be able to break through the perfected level in these few thousand years. When the King of the East dies, he will die too." "No way." Qi Shifu's expression turned ugly. She shook her head. Like father, like son. The King of the East is so powerful. How can his son be defeated so easily? Lu Xiaobai will not be defeated. He is the man that I like. He will definitely win. Definitely. Hearing Qi Shifu's words and looking at her pitiful face, even Min Xiu, who was Xiaobai's ally, was a little jealous. Min Xiu sighed. "Miss Shifu, why are you deceiving yourself? Lu Xiaobai will lose for sure. The loser of the battle for the king will never be able to become a king in the future. How can such a Lu Xiaobai be worthy of you? P.S. Something urgent. Only one chapter today. I will write it tomorrow. Third Master." Chapter 3458. Boom, boom, boom. People were discussing among themselves. Inside, the situation was worsening. Little White was at a complete disadvantage. It was not to the extent that he could not fight back. However, he was too weak to fight back. All he could do was to support each other. Lord Yu and the others felt their hearts were weighed down. The problem was that they did not know how to leave. What was more, this was an important fight. They would not give up so easily. They would fight until the last moment, even at the cost of their lives. Little White was filled with rage. But the more impatient he was, the worse the situation was for him. Every time he charged forward, he would be faced with several powerful attacks. He was strong in defense, but he would be severely injured if the attacks went on like this. Little White was not worried about his own life. He was worried about Lu Li. If he died because of Lu Li, Little White would not be able to redeem himself. Lu Li was not alone. He had a family and many wives. The Lu family had many people. If Lu Li died here, what would happen to the Lu family? On this thought, Little White tried to find Lu Li at once. However, psychic power was restricted here. Little White could not sense Lu Li at all. Lu Li had released the traceless path. Even if Little White could use psychic power, he would not be able to find Lu Li. There were no warriors at the absolute completion here. Under the traceless path, nobody could find Lu Li. Where's our boss? An idea came to Little White's mind. Lu Li had so many strange skills, especially when it came to divine glyphs. Blood Fairy was strong. Could Lu Li solve the situation today? I am overthinking. Soon, Little White shook his head. This was the formation of bee suppression. How could it be cracked so easily? Also, this formation clearly had the seal of a warrior at the absolute completion. How could a warrior of Lu Li's level crack it? The Tao seal of a great perfection stage powerhouse was very powerful. Even if a powerhouse who was infinitely close to the great perfection stage wanted to break it, it would take at least a few months. There were even some Tao seals that were infinitely close to the great perfection stage powerhouses couldn't break. Forget it. Little White drove away the distracting thoughts. Lu Li had a powerful stealth skill. Even if they were all killed, Bio and the others would not be able to find Lu Li. As long as they could not find Lu Li, they would have a chance to leave. Lu Li had indeed gone into hiding, and he was right outside the palace. He didn't attack Bio, even though he knew very well that as long as Bio was killed, the battle would be over. Bio swallowed the immortal pill and his battle prowess sword. Moreover, the battle armor on his body was no ordinary battle armor. Although it was not a supreme divine weapon, its defensive power was definitely very shocking. In other words, if Lu Li launched a sneak attack, he might not be able to instantly kill Bio. If he couldn't kill Bio, then he would be dead. Even if Bio didn't kill him, the other experts would definitely kill him in an instant. It would be perfect if he could break this immortal array. If he couldn't break it, then he could only take the risk and kill Bio. For Lu Li, Little White's business was his business. Although Bio might not kill Little White, Lu Li wouldn't take the risk. Moreover, even if Little White did not die, as long as it was defeated, it would definitely have an inner demon. It would definitely not be able to break through to the consummate level in the next few thousand years. To Little White, this was no different from dying. Therefore, Lu Li would try his best to help Little White overcome this difficulty and win this battle. He had already scouted the surrounding area and didn't find any traps. The only problem was the palace. The palace had a shield. For a palace to appear here, it must be an important place. The formation of bee suppression must be in here. Blood Fairy had sneaked into the palace. The runes in the palace had no effect on her. The runes in the palace were activated. Lily could not go in. He was waiting for Blood Fairy's message to see if she could crack this formation of bee suppression in a short time. If she could not, then there was only one way out: to assassinate Bio. Time moved on. Little White and the others were all injured. One of them was badly injured. The situation was getting worse. Little White's injuries were serious. He had taken some pellets given to him by the master of the eastern region. His body was strong as well. Otherwise, he would have been badly injured. After the time for one incense stick to burn, two powerful warriors were badly injured. Finally, Blood Fairy's voice came to Lu Li's mind. Master, the formation in the palace is easy to crack, and so is the formation of bee suppression. The key is that there is a seal of a warrior at the consummate level in the formation. I cannot crack it. If I don't destroy the Tao seal, I won't be able to break this beast-suppressing immortal array. A seal of a warrior at the consummate level, Lu Li was troubled. To crack this seal was too difficult. To do it by force was as difficult as ascending to heaven. The only way was to study the Tao contained in the seal. He did not have to study all of it. Just a little bit, and it would be easy to crack the seal. Lu Li thought about it and said to Little White, "Little White, attack the palace with the shock waves. Cover me." Hearing Lu Li's words, Little White was inspired. It swung the East King's saber in its hand and launched several attacks, forcing the two powerful warriors nearby to step back. Then, he controlled the shock waves to hit the palace. Buzzing, the runes in the palace burst out a blinding light. It was as if the palace had turned into a furnace. Lu Li could not see what was going on. Psychic power was restricted here. Not only Little White's, but all the warriors' psychic power was restricted as well. Bo and the others took a look, but did not pay much attention. It was just the shock waves that had hit the palace. The runes in the palace were strong. Even if Little White and the others kept on attacking, it would take them at least 2 hours to crack the palace. In 2 hours, Lord Yu and the others would have been killed. In fact, Lord Yu and the others could have killed 1 or 2. However, Lord Yu and the others were fighting with all their might. They were like trapped beasts, struggling before death. Bo and the others did not push too hard for fear that they would die together with Lord Yu and the others. Bo and the others looked away after a quick glance. What they did not know was that at the back of the palace, a small door suddenly opened up. Lu Li dashed in and the door of the palace disappeared. Everything happened so fast. What was more, they could not see it at the back of the palace. After Lu Li went in, the runes in the palace returned to normal. Lu Li paid no more attention to the outside. He stared at a huge altar in the palace. The altar was large, with a radius of more than 100 feet. At the moment, the altar was glowing. There was a ray of light moving around inside. The ray of light contained a surge of powerful and mysterious chi and energy. The seal of a warrior at the consummate level. Lu Li recognized it right away. He had seen this seal twice before. It was easy to recognize. He put on a solemn look. If he could not crack the seal, then the bee suppression formation would not be broken. In that case, Little White and the others would lose for sure. 1 hour. Lu Li estimated that he had 1 hour at most. If he could not crack the bee suppression formation in an hour, then there would be no way to turn the tables outside. Chapter 3459. How difficult it was to crack the Taoist seal of a warrior at the perfection realm in an hour. Lu Li had to learn the Taoist seal in an hour. He didn't need to learn too much, just a little bit. Lu Li didn't waste any time. He sat down next to the formation and started to study the Taoist seal. He forgot everything else and focused on the Taoist seal and the Taoist seal. He was very nervous. If he couldn't learn it, Little White and the others would be in danger. The situation outside was getting worse. At first, there were only 2 warriors that were badly injured. Now, there were 4. But one of the warriors on Bo's side was killed by Little White's special skill. Little White paid a heavy price as well. It was attacked by 3 powerful warriors at the same time, and its injuries were getting worse. The time for half an incense stick to burn past. Time flew by. Boom! Lord Yu was smashed away by a powerful warrior. One of his arms was cut off. Blood spilled out from his mouth. He was badly injured. His heart was getting heavier. At his age, he didn't care about life and death. The only thing he was worried about was Little White. He was one of the most loyal subordinates of East King. To him, Little White was both a young master and a nephew. He almost watched Little White grow up step by step. He was the one who found Little White. He had deep feelings for Little White. Little White also had deep feelings for him. If they died, Little White would be grieved. Demons would appear in his heart. It would be impossible for him to break through to the perfection realm in a short time. Thinking of this, he roared angrily, swallowed a pill, and charged forward again. As long as he was still breathing, he would fight to the end. Boom! After the time for another incense stick to burn, Patriarch Kai was attacked by two powerful warriors. He was already badly injured. He couldn't stand it anymore. His body was smashed. He was dead. Outside the lonely moon city, it was even more lively. After Patriarch Kai was killed, many warriors cheered. It was clear that Bo's side was going to win. Everyone on Little White's side was injured. 4 of them were badly injured. Little White was not far from being seriously injured. Minshiu looked worse and worse. Yuan-in, on the other hand, had a sarcastic look on his face. He crossed his arms and watched with great interest. Qi Shishir was a little nervous. She grabbed the fence with both hands and stared at Lu Xiaobai. Qi Shifu was an immortal beast, one of the most powerful ones among all immortal beasts. In her heart, there were very few young masters who were worthy of her. In her heart, her son-in-law was the most powerful immortal beast in the celestial realm, and the heaven-devouring beast was undoubtedly one of the most powerful immortal beasts in her heart. The king of the eastern region had swept through half of the celestial realm to prove this point. After Little White made its debut, it quickly attracted the attention of Qi Shishir. Qi Shishir had collected a lot of information about Little White. She had fallen in love with Xiao Bai's character and character. Most importantly, Little White's personality was rather pure. It was like a blank piece of paper, and it had no brothers. As long as she married Little White, and Little White became the king of the eastern region, she could be said to have indirectly controlled the eastern region. When they met previously, Xiao Bai was very indifferent toward her. However, the more it was like this, the more interested she was in Xiao Bai. Usually, there were too many young masters around her, and Xiao Bai did not even spare a glance at her. This, in turn, ignited her desire to conquer. She thought that with her own charm, sooner or later, she would make Little White submit to her. However, the person she wanted to conquer might have failed in the battle for the king of the eastern region. Just as Min Shiyu had said, a young king who failed in the battle for the king of the eastern region would find it difficult to take the initiative to ascend to the king's position. Was such a Lu Xiaobai worthy of her? Qi Shishir had been secretly praying that Lu Xiaobai must win. The more she prayed, the worse the situation became. Qi Shishir's expression also became increasingly ugly. If there were no accidents, in at most an hour, all of Lu Xiaobai's subordinates would be dead. Lu Xiaobai would also be seriously injured and eventually become Bo's prisoner. Thinking of this, Qi Shishir couldn't bear to continue watching. If Little White was abused and imprisoned, it would shatter the dream in her heart. All these years, she had been dreaming of meeting Little White. If that was the case, then her dream would be shattered, and she would be very heartbroken. Lu Xiaobai, you are the war god of the young generation in my heart. You cannot lose. Qi Shishir prayed again. Right at that moment, Lu Xiaobai was smashed away again. He looked miserable. Qi Shishir thought about it and went back into the cabin. She didn't want to watch anymore. She just wanted to wait for the result. If Lu Xiaobai really lost, was imprisoned, abused, or killed, then she would have to turn around and leave. Boom! After the time for half an incense stick to burn, another powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm was killed. There were only 9 warriors left on Little White's side. Lord Yu's injuries were more serious. At the moment, he had less than half of his fighting capacity left. Lu Li, who was in the palace, opened his eyes at this moment. It was not that he understood the Tao and the seal, but that he couldn't. He wouldn't be able to do it in half a year, let alone an hour. Since he couldn't do it, he would not force himself. It would be a waste of time. He must find another way. After the time, for a few breaths, Lu Li said to Blood Fairy, "Blood Fairy, do you think I can collapse the beast suppression formation if I attack with full force?" Blood Fairy answered quickly, "Almost impossible. It is all because of the seal. If you cannot dissolve or suppress the seal, then you cannot crack the formation. This seal is the soul of the beast suppression immortal array. I estimate that with your attack power, it will take at least a few years to collapse it. Then it will be pointless." He could not wait for a few days, let alone a few years. Luli pulled a long face. He did not know the situation outside, but he knew it must be bad. Many warriors might have died. Half of the hour had already passed, but he was still at his wits' end. Luli shook his head and stood up, ready to fight for his life. He had the super flames and the super liquid of destruction. He was 60 to 70% sure that he could kill Bo. That being said, once Bo died, Luli would be killed by the furious warriors of the northern region. Luli could not worry about that now. He had to fight for his life. What? Wait. All of a sudden, Luli remembered something. He stared at the Xian energy and asked, Blood Fairy, did you just say something about suppression? If I can suppress the seal so that it cannot move, do you think you can crack the bee suppression formation? Yes. Blood Fairy answered with certainty. As long as the seal doesn't move, it can't suppress me, and I can break the bee suppression immortal formation. I have found its weakness. It will not be difficult. I can crack it in the time for a few breaths. Okay. Luli was cheered up. He just remembered something. He had a supreme weapon, which contained the seal of a warrior at the consummate level. Could he use the seal of the supreme divine weapon to suppress the seal in the bee-suppressing immortal array? The bee-suppression formation was dead, but his supreme weapon was alive. There was a weapon spirit in it. If he could suppress it, it would be easy. Chapter 3460. Luli took out the traceless saber at once. The traceless saber was a supreme divine weapon with fundamental law, inscribed by a warrior at the consummate level. Luli could not use the traceless saber. He had a hack at the formation with the traceless saber, aiming at the ray of light. When the traceless saber made contact with the ray of light emitted a surge of horrifying energy. This aura was very violent, extremely violent. It spread outside in an instant, causing the experts who were fighting fiercely outside to be stunned. Bo and several other powerful warriors looked at each other in astonishment. Lord Yu and the others were surprised as well. The runes in the palace had been open all the time, and no warrior had gone in. How could there be such energy? There was nothing inside except for a bee suppression immortal array. Nothing must go wrong with this array. Yes, boss. Little White's eyes glowed. He was overjoyed. Luli just told him to attack the palace. Clearly, it was Luli's doing that something was wrong. Little White transmitted a message to the other powerful warriors at once. The others were all cheered up. If Luli could destroy the formation, then it was not impossible for them to turn things around. Even though the possibility was small, there was still a ray of hope. Little White had the heaven-swallowing skill. As long as Little White's abilities were not suppressed, every time it used the heaven-swallowing skill, it could kill a powerful warrior. Also, the effect of Bo's elixir had weakened. If Bo could be killed, then the situation could be turned around. Therefore, the beast suppression formation was crucial. If the formation could be cracked, then there was a chance to turn things around. If the formation could not be cracked, then they would be doomed. Since Whitey and the others could figure this out, Bo and the others naturally could as well. After the time for a few breaths, Bo shouted, Yin, go and take a look. A powerful warrior flew toward the palace. Little White would not let him go. Luli must be at a critical moment. Little White and Lord Yu looked at each other, and then they all attacked with all their might. Bo and the others complained. As soon as Yin got close to the palace, he was attacked by 3 or 4 powerful warriors. Little White even targeted this powerful warrior and used the heaven-swallowing skill. That powerful warrior was panicking. His abilities were not strong, but he was better at divine inscriptions. The divine inscriptions in this palace were all controlled by him. How could he not be afraid when a few experts attacked him? Old Yin retreated. Bo was immediately enraged. He shouted in a deep voice, Don't hide anymore. Attack with all your might and kill them. Don't be afraid of death. If you win this battle, I will honor my promise to you. Any delay could lead to unforeseen events. Bo did not know what was going on inside the palace, and he did not want to care. Lord Yu and the others were all heavily injured. As long as the experts went all out, it wouldn't be too difficult to kill them. The reason why so many experts were still alive was because the warriors on Bo's side were not willing to risk their lives. If they had fought with their lives on the line, the battle would have ended long ago. As soon as Bio's words fell, killing intent flashed in the eyes of the experts on this side. They weren't fools. It wasn't easy for the situation to turn out this way. If they failed at the last step, they would become a laughingstock. Therefore, they didn't hold back. Several experts began to attack ferociously. The pressure on this side suddenly increased. Buzz! At that moment, a formless ripple spread out. Next, Whitey and the others felt the mysterious power enveloping them disappear. Streams of powerful energy filled their bodies. Roar! Whitey immediately let out a roar that sounded like a tiger or a dragon. He instantly turned into his original form. A huge phantom appeared in midair. That phantom locked onto an expert who was charging at the front. Swish! That expert was sucked in, and then the phantom disappeared. Only an interspatial ring, a divine weapon, and a battle armor were left in midair. This expert was killed in an instant. Bio and the others were shocked. They all realized something was wrong. The beast's suppression and mortal formation had disappeared. Otherwise, how could Lu Xiaobai kill an expert who was infinitely close to the perfected realm so easily? They all felt the energy released by the immortal formation disappearing. Many experts originally rushed over, but when they saw Whitey's extremely cold eyes, the remaining experts inexplicably panicked. Nobody wanted to die. It wasn't worth it for Bio, because even if Bio won, he might not become the tribe king. If they died, the strength of their tribe would be greatly reduced. Bio was cold by nature and might not necessarily take care of their tribe. Their side was different from Whitey's. Whitey was the only young master. These experts were all subordinates of the king of the eastern region. They knew very well that if they didn't do their best, the king of the eastern region would tear them apart. They really liked Whitey. Whitey was very loyal. Even if they died, there would be no problem for their tribe. Instead, Whitey would take care of their tribe. Seeing this, Bio was instantly enraged. He snorted and said, "In this situation, the more you are afraid of death, the faster you will die. Also, if my tribe king finds out, will your tribe have a good life?" In order to make these experts risk their lives, Bio used both threats and temptations. The remaining experts' eyes flashed, and they were a little hesitant. But Whitey shouted angrily, "Look, what kind of master have you chosen? Is this kind of master worthy of you dying for him? The northern region will not have a good life. You can go to the eastern region. Help me kill Bio, and I will ensure that your tribe will prosper for generations to come." Whitey used the tactic of sowing discord. The experts on the other side were even more hesitant. Their attacks became soft. Only 3 experts were still attacking with all their might. The others felt that they were just dealing with the situation. Their attacks looked very violent and powerful, but in fact, they didn't have much power. Whitey released the Swallowing Heaven divine skill again. This time, it locked onto Bio. When Bio saw Whitey's gaze locked onto him, his heart trembled. He immediately took out a shield. That shield expanded with the wind and covered half the sky. Then, he quickly retreated to the back of the palace. Swish! Lu Xiaobai could only lock onto another expert. This expert was attacking Old Yin and couldn't avoid it. He was enveloped by the Swallowing Heaven divine skill and was sucked in. Whitey's battle strength wasn't suppressed. The Swallowing Heaven divine skill could instantly kill most experts who were infinitely close to the perfected realm. This expert didn't escape the fate of being instantly killed. Boom! But on the other side, Yufeng was released a killer move by an expert. He, who was already heavily injured, couldn't take it anymore. His head exploded. "You guys are still hoping for luck." Bio's angry roar came from the palace. "If we don't use all our strength, we will all be killed by Lu Xiaobai's Swallowing Heaven divine skill. No one will be able to escape. All of you, no matter what, we have to severely injure Lu Xiaobai first." The remaining experts looked at each other and gritted their teeth as they made up their minds. They were indeed in an awkward situation now. They couldn't advance or retreat. Whitey was too ferocious. If he continued to attack like this, all the experts would probably be wiped out. For safety's sake, it was better to severely injure Lu Xiaobai first. Chapter 3461. The change in the situation made it even noisier outside. More than 10 million martial artists were discussing. The noise was like 100 million ducks quacking at the same time, making many martial artists dizzy. Qi Shishir was alarmed by the noise outside. She came out in a flash. Yuan Yin, Min Shiyu, and countless other experts looked even more bewildered than before. Did Little White and the others suddenly feel stronger? Did Bio's setup lose its effect? The one-sided situation had changed. 3 martial artists from Bio's side were killed. Including Bio, there were 8 left. 2 martial artists from Little White's side were killed. There were 9 left. But Little White and the others were all injured. 3 or 4 were seriously injured. Of course, Little White's side was full of fighting spirit. They were not afraid of death. On the other hand, the other side was not very united. Many martial artists were afraid of death. So the situation was very delicate. It was hard to guess the final result. Most of the martial artists thought that Bio's side had a higher chance of winning. After all, many martial artists from Little White's side were seriously injured. Little White had released the heaven-swallowing divine skill many times. He was clearly very weak now. The heaven-swallowing divine skill could not be released endlessly. It consumed a lot of origin energy every time. Many martial artists opened bets and started to bet on who would win. When Qi Shishir saw Lu Xiaobai displaying his invincible might, her beautiful eyes sparkled, and her pretty face was filled with lustful light. Soon, her smile disappeared. The martial artists from Bio's side had started to attack Little White with all their might. Little White was very weak after releasing the heaven-swallowing divine skill. After being attacked by the martial artists, he was sent flying. This time, he was seriously injured. Blood spurted from his mouth. There were wounds all over his body. Buzz, at that moment, the projection above the city suddenly flashed and disappeared. This caused the 10 million cultivators who were staring at the image to be stunned. After being stunned for a breath of time, countless cultivators immediately started cursing. Qi Shishir's face was red. The last image was Little White being sent flying. Then, 2 martial artists charged at Little White. It seemed that Little White was going to be killed the next moment. How could the image disappear at such a critical moment? How could Qi Shishir not be worried? It was impossible for the recording to disappear for no reason. So a martial artist must have tampered with the recording and destroyed the array pattern. Qi Shishir was worried that it was Bio's doing. Did he want to attack Whitey? You want to kill Whitey? The disappearance of the image was naturally not Bio's doing. Once Little White died, Bio would never be able to clear his name no matter how hard he tried. It must have something to do with him. Since that was the case, why should he turn off the formation? It was Lu Li who destroyed the formation. Lu Li asked Blood Fairy to do it. Lu Li was ready to take action. Since Blood Fairy had found this formation, Lu Li did not want to leave behind any evidence. There were 11 experts on White Yi's side and 11 on Bio's side. If he revealed himself and was discovered, then there would be 12 experts on White Yi's side. At that time, people would criticize Xiaobai for having an unfair advantage. Lu Li didn't want to get into trouble and be targeted by the Bei family. The formation was in the palace. After Lu Li told Blood Fairy to destroy it, he told her to turn off the formation in the palace. Then, he used the traceless way. Buzzing, the light outside the palace disappeared, which startled Bio, who was behind the palace. At that moment, a door appeared at the back of the palace. The door opened quietly, but no warrior came out. Something is not right. At that moment, Bio sensed a fatal danger. Without any hesitation, he activated his armor. At the same time, he took out another elixir, ready to take it to increase his abilities. At the same time, he flew quickly, trying to avoid the danger nearby. Swish, swish. The moment the door opened, Lu Li had already arrived behind Bio. His figure flashed out, and then an endless amount of black flames appeared. It instantly expanded and enveloped Bio. The moment the flames appeared, Lu Li wanted to enter the realm of magic as well. Bio's pupils contracted. When he saw Lu Li, He swung the axe in his hand and hacked at Lu Li without any hesitation. A close-range attack, that was close to the level of a consummate warrior, was fast. Lu Li wanted to enter the realm of magic at once, but it was too late. Luckily, he had the traceless saber in his hand. He held it in front of him. Boom! Lu Li was smashed down by the axe and fell down. A ray of cold light came out from the axe. Lu Li's head was left with a deep wound and his soul was injured. Okay, even though he was badly injured, Lu Li was overjoyed. As long as Bio could not kill him, then everything would be fine. Lu Li dashed into the realm of magic while Bio was enveloped by the black flames. Ah! Bio let out a cry of pain, which alarmed the other powerful warriors. Over there, two powerhouses were chasing after Whitey, while the other powerhouses were blocking the attacks of Old Yin and the others. At this moment, they all glanced over and saw Bio being enveloped by a ball of black flames, tumbling in midair. Bio's armor was strong. Even though it was not the Supreme Divinity armor, it was still a top-level armor. There were several defensive true meanings inscribed on it that were close to the level of a consummate warrior. If Lu Li was just releasing regular black flames, it would be hard to hurt Bio. The black flames were refined by the realm of magic. Its power was increased by 10 times. Even with such a powerful armor, Bio was still badly injured. Psychic power could not be used here. The group of powerful warriors did not see Lu Li. Their eyes flickered with surprise. They did not know where the flames came from. The temperature was so high that they all felt like they were being burned. Ah ha ha! Little White was badly injured, but he was overjoyed. He laughed and shouted, Bio is going to die soon. Do you still want to risk your lives for him? The remaining few powerful warriors hesitated. If Bio died, it would be meaningless for them to continue. The Bio family would not accept this favor. Help me stop them. I will go and kill Bio. Little White said. Lord Yu and the others came to their senses and began to fight back. The powerful warriors on Bio's side hesitated for a moment and were caught unprepared. They hurried to defend. Swish! Whitey rushed over in a flash and flew to the side of the palace. Then, a phantom appeared behind it again. The phantom spat out a stream of air and enveloped Bio. It's over. The group of powerful warriors trembled. They knew that Bio was definitely going to die. Even the Bei family patriarch could not save him. Bio was seriously injured by the black flames. When he was sucked into the shadow, his eyes were filled with fear. He shouted, No, Lu Xiaobai, don't kill me, don't. He could not shout the rest of his words. Bio was sucked into the shadow. Then, the shadow disappeared. Only an armor, an axe, and an interspatial ring were left in midair. One of the young lords of the northern region, Bio, dead. Chapter 3462. The moment Bio died, the fighting inside stopped at the same time. That was because there was not much meaning in fighting anymore. The reason why they were fighting was to support Bio. If Bio won, they would only benefit from it. If Bio died, there would be no meaning in fighting. A powerful warrior looked at Lord Yu and the others and said, Okay, you have won. Stop fighting. It would not be good for either side. Lord Yu and the others naturally did not want to fight anymore. They were satisfied with the result. They were going to die. Now that they were alive, they were happy. Little White wanted all the powerful warriors to stay, but he knew that if they kept fighting, there would be only one or two left. He might even be killed. He thought for a moment and said, Where's the exit? Go out first. Don't say anything after you go out. Just say that Bio was killed by me. You have lost this battle. Okay. The powerful warriors cupped their fists. They were surprised just now. Where did the fire come from to burn Bio so badly? How could the beast suppression formation be broken? They guessed that there were powerful warriors hiding on Little White's side, but they could not find them. They did not think that there was a warrior at the consummate level. If there was a warrior at this level, why did they fight? They would have come out and killed them all. No matter what the exact situation was, Bio was dead. Nothing mattered anymore. Old Cloud shot out streams of light, and a door opened in the mountain wall. The group of experts rushed out in a single file. Let's go out first. Little White waved his hand and shouted to the palace, "Boss, where are you? Come out. Let's go out together." Buzzing, Luli came out. His head was broken and he was in a mess. His soul was hurt. He was not in a good state of mind. His face was very pale. "Boss, are you hurt?" Little White was hurt badly himself, but he flew down nervously. He took out 2 elixirs and gave them to Luli. "Boss, take them. My dad made them himself. They are very effective." Luli took the elixirs and swallowed them. Little White thought about it and said, "Boss, go into my interspatial artifact. Let's go." Okay. Luli was really hurt this time. His physical injury was not a big deal. His soul was the most troublesome. Little White took out the interspatial artifact and put him in. Little White even took out some water to wash the blood. He changed into a robe and said, "Let's go." They had already put away Kai's body. Little White waved his hand, and a group of powerful warriors rushed out. They appeared outside the lonely moon city in a flash. At this moment, it was very lively outside. When Bio's subordinates came out, it exploded outside. When Xiaobai and the others came out, it was completely boiling. Bio's subordinates came out, but not Bio. After this group of experts came out, they immediately flew into the distance without saying anything. The martial artists besieging outside already felt that something was wrong. Now that Whitey had come out, the situation was completely clear. Little White won. Bio was dead. Before the image disappeared, Whitey was sent flying and heavily injured. 2 experts chased after Whitey. They did not expect that the situation would be reversed in such a short time. Bio of Bio was killed. Time. However, he did not expect the situation to be reversed in such a short time. Bio was killed, and Whitey and the others won. Yuan Yin's expression darkened. Min Shiyu's lips curled into a faint smile, but his eyes were still filled with doubt. He couldn't understand what had happened after the image disappeared. Wow, Qi sure couldn't help but cry out. Lu Xiaobai had actually reversed the situation and won in such a bad situation. Although he didn't know how he won, a victory was a victory. Winning the Battle of Young Kings meant that Lu Xiaobai's chances of becoming a king were higher. Her beautiful eyes were dripping with tears, and there was a brilliant smile on her lips. However, she did not fly over and take the initiative to approach Lu Xiaobai. She was very clear that if she wanted to conquer a man, it required skill. Keeping a distance was the most basic. Otherwise, she would be seen as a shameless slut, and Xiaobai would be disgusted. "Young Master Bai, congratulations. I am very happy that you can win." She merely sent a message over, and Xiaobai swept a glance over. Seeing the sincere smile in her eyes, Xiaobai's impression of Qi sure improved a little. The expression in Qi sure's eyes looked extremely sincere. Xiaobai replied, and Min Xiu also congratulated Xiaobai. There were also some experts that Xiaobai casually dealt with. "Lord, you took out a warship," and Xiaobai and the others boarded it and left. Although they had won this battle, Xiaobai and the others were seriously injured. There were tens of millions of warriors here, and there were many experts hiding. What if there were experts who were not afraid of death and launched a sneak attack? At that time, Little White and the others would have died unjustly. It was better to return to the eastern region as soon as possible. Very quickly, the battleships broke through the void and left. Qi, Yuan Yin, Min Shiyu, and the others also left quickly. Many battleships left one after another, and in just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, more than half of the battleships had left. The remaining 10 million soldiers did not leave immediately. Without seeing Bio's corpse with their own eyes, they still could not believe it. Just now, Bio was clearly about to win. How did the tables turn so quickly? A few experts from the Bei family entered through the teleportation gate at the exit, but soon walked out. There was nothing inside. Needless to say, Bio was already dead. Half a day later, news came from the Bei family, confirming this point. Bio's jade talisman of life had shattered, and Bio was already dead. The Battle of the Young Kings had come to an end, and Lu Xiaobai had won. The soldiers on this side dispersed, and the news quickly spread throughout the northern region, and then towards the immortal domain. This battle was very strange, and it caused countless warriors to discuss and debate. Bo had made many arrangements, and originally thought that Lu Xiaobai would definitely die, but in the end, the tables were turned. Many warriors guessed that Lu Xiaobai must have brought a great perfection expert in, and used the great perfection expert to secretly kill Bo and the others. Otherwise, how could that situation be reversed? However, this news was confirmed to be a rumor by a great perfection expert in the northern region. After that, this great perfection expert went to investigate the lonely emperor world, and there was no remnant aura of a great perfection expert. Even if he had infiltrated into the great perfection realm, he could not have made a move. Otherwise, he would definitely have left behind the aura of a great perfection expert. The news was spread by a great perfection expert in the northern region, so it could not be wrong. Since the Bei family did not say anything, the other warriors naturally could not say anything. Besides, Bo's secret arrangements this time was in itself a dishonorable thing to do. There was no doubt that Xiaobai's battle strength was indeed stronger than Bo's. Xiaobai had used the heaven-swallowing divine skill to instantly kill a few experts who were infinitely close to the great perfection level. No matter how it was spread, no matter how many people doubted it, it still formed a keynote in the immortal domain. This battle of the young kings, Lu Xiaobai had won. Xiaobai's reputation soared. If he could break through to the great perfection level, his position as the king of the eastern region would be as stable as a rock. Third sect leader. Chapter 3463. Little White and the others flew toward the eastern region in a straight line. After half a day, a breeze came. Lord Yu and the others came to their senses. They were about to take actions when a man showed up. Lord Yu and the others bowed at once and said, "Lord Yun, only a powerful warrior at the complete perfection realm could make Lord Yu bow to him with such respect." This powerful warrior was covered in black hair like a gorilla. He was so violent that even Lord Yu and the others felt pressured. Lord Yun was a famous powerful warrior at the eastern region. The reason why he showed up was clear. He was here to protect Little White. This powerful warrior must have been protecting Little White in secret. He just didn't show up. Lord Yun nodded and said, "Go and heal yourselves. You have done a good job." The powerful warriors were happy to be recognized by Lord Yun. He was a famous warrior at the eastern region. His combat ability could be ranked among the top 10 at the eastern region. He was one of King Dong's generals. It was not easy to be recognized by him. "Grandpa Yun." Little White bowed obediently. Lord Yun smiled. He patted Little White's shoulder and said, "Not bad, Little White. You have done a good job." Alas, Little White was a bit ashamed. He touched his head and said, "We were set up. If it were not for our big brother, we would have all died. Uncle Yu and the others would have died." "Oh." Lord Yun was surprised. He asked, "Tell me the details. I didn't see what happened later." Little White explained at once. Lord Yun frowned. When Little White finished, he asked, "Where is your big brother?" "He is in my interspatial artifact." Little White sent Luli out at once. Luli was still healing. He stood up at once when he saw Lord Yun. Luli felt Lord Yun was powerful. He must be a powerful warrior at the complete perfection realm. Emperor realm? Little White didn't tell Lord Yun about Luli's realm. Lord Yun was surprised. A warrior of the Emperor realm could kill a warrior close to the complete perfection realm? A warrior of the Emperor realm could crack the beast suppression formation? Lord Yun didn't ask further. He just nodded and encouraged Luli. At that moment, Luli suddenly had an idea. He disappeared on the spot and then drifted to the left. It was rare for him to meet a warrior at the consummate realm, and a friendly one at that. Luli wanted to try Traceless Tao and see if a warrior at the consummate realm could detect it. If he couldn't even sense a consummate expert, he could go anywhere in the world. Lord Yun frowned. He glanced over and then used psychic power again. Still, he could not find Luli. In the end, he closed his eyes, turned around, and looked at where Luli was. He nodded and said, "Traceless path? Interesting." It's a pity that you haven't fully comprehended it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have discovered you. Luli showed up and said with a bitter smile, Lord Yin, I'm just trying to see if a warrior at the consummate level of the traceless Tao can see me. I am sorry. All right, go and heal yourselves. Lord Yun waved his hand. His interspatial ring glowed as he took out a pellet, handed it to Lu Li, and said, Your soul is badly injured. This pellet can heal it. Don't worry about your safety. I will take care of it. Thank you, my lord. Lu Li and Lord Yu bowed and went to their own cabins. They were flying in a straight line anyway, so they didn't need to control the battleship. With Lord Yin here, their safety was guaranteed. Unless the Bei family patriarch was here, any average consummate realm warrior would be defeated by Lord Yin. The battleship flew at full speed. The return trip was faster than when they came. There were many stops on the way back, so the speed wasn't at its peak. It would take them about a year to go back. After a while of discussion, the region quieted down. The Bei family didn't do anything, so it was assumed that Lu Xiaobai had won. The eastern region had won the fight between the eastern region and the northern region. Of course, before Lu Xiaobai returned to the eastern region, the matter was not settled yet. What if the northern region was not happy and sent powerful warriors to assassinate Lu Xiaobai? Or what if powerful warriors of other realms disguised as warriors of the northern region tried to assassinate Lu Xiaobai? Along the way, many scouts kept their eyes on Lu Xiaobai, trying to see if there were any powerful warriors that could stop Lu Xiaobai from returning. Ever since Lord Yin boarded the battleship, he had been hiding. No one from the outside could find him unless a warrior at the consummate realm was nearby. Maybe it was because the northern region didn't want revenge, or they were afraid of the king of the eastern region, or maybe it was because of Lord Yin, but Little White's journey was smooth. Little White recovered after half a month of treatment. Little White was lively again. It couldn't sit still all day and would walk up and down on the deck. Sometimes it would scare the scouts hiding nearby. A month later, Lord Yu's arm was healed, and so were the other powerful warriors. Only Luli was still in closed-door cultivation. Luli's soul was hurt. It would take him a long time to recover. He would need at least half a year. Without the elixir given to him by Lord Yin, it would take him more than half a year to recover. Luli couldn't stay idle during such a long time. He continued to study the traceless way. Lord Yin told Luli that if he could master the traceless way, then not even warriors at the consummate realm would be able to find him. This was an amazing skill. Luli attached great importance to it. He would study it whenever he had time. Half a year passed by quickly. It was safe on the way. Lord Yu and the others could put their minds at ease. Little White, on the other hand, was never worried. If a warrior at the consummate realm dared to lay a finger on Lu Li, then he must be tired of living. Lu Li's wounds were healed. He rested for a couple of days and then went back to closed-door cultivation. Little White, on the other hand, could not sit still. It spent its days lying on the deck leisurely. Lord Yin had disappeared, and no one could detect him. Even Lord Yu and the others could not sense him. But Little White and Lord Yu knew that Lord Yin had been in one of the cabins. Another month later, the space in front of them suddenly trembled. Then, a ray of blue sword energy appeared and cut at the battleship. The moment the saber energy appeared, Xiaobai and Lord Yu's pupils constricted. Their eyes were filled with fear. Lord Yu roared, perfected. Bang! A figure flew out from one of the cabins. His body lit up with a dazzling white light, and he suddenly waved his hands forward. The surrounding heaven and earth seemed to distort at this moment. It was as if the world had been deformed by the wave of his arms. In front of Lord Yin came out a transparent white shield. The shield had a radius of more than 10,000 feet. It stood between the ray of sword energy and the battleship. Boom! The ray of sword energy whooshed on and landed on the huge shield. The shield cracked, but so did the ray of sword energy. Lord Yin was knocked back for more than 1,000 feet. The battleship behind him was smashed into pieces as well. Poof! Lu Li and the others were all smashed away. Blood spilled out from their mouths. Even Lord Yu and the others were injured. Third Master. Chapter 3464. Lord Yin made his move and released a powerful defensive magical power. However, the magical power was shattered by the shockwave. The shockwave from the attack had shattered the battleship. Lu Li and the others were injured as well. More importantly, Lord Yu and the others were injured. That ray of sword light was too ferocious for such a powerful warrior to be injured. He must be a warrior at the absolute completion of the realm. The same thought flashed across everyone's mind. Lord Yun roared as he attacked, blasting towards a certain space. He generated a ray of light, which was horrifying. Lu Li and the others felt their souls and bodies were trembling. Boom, boom, boom. The space in front of them was collapsing, but Lu Li and the others couldn't see anyone. There was no warrior. After a round of attacks, Lord Yin said angrily, "Yuanbua, don't think that I don't know you are sneaking around. How dare you sneak up on Little White? Go back and wait for your death." Yuanbua? Lord Yu was surprised. A warrior of the Yuan family? That was a warrior of the Origin Realm? How could a warrior at the absolute completion of the Origin Realm be so arrogant? How dare he kill Little White on the way? The king of the Eastern region went on a killing spree in the Origin Realm and killed 4 warriors at the absolute completion of the Origin Realm. If Little White was killed, the king of the Eastern region would kill all the warriors at the Origin Realm in a fit of rage. That warrior at the absolute completion of the Origin Realm didn't show himself. He just vanished after one move. He didn't show himself. Not even Lord Yin could see him, let alone Lord Yu. He could only make a rough judgment based on his attacks. Let me take you back. Lord Yin thought about it and took out his interspatial artifact. Little White and the others were taken in without any resistance. Lu Li, of course, did not refuse. Warriors at the absolute completion of the Eastern region were trustworthy. Lord Yin was afraid that something might go wrong. He didn't dare to go on like this. He led the warriors away. It would be faster and safer this way. All the warriors entered the spatial divine tool. Lord Yun's figure flashed and disappeared. He flew towards the south at a terrifying speed. There happened to be some scouts nearby. They all saw what happened. They left quickly to report it to their superiors. All the scouts had grim expressions on their faces. Something big was going to happen this time. The king of the Eastern region had said that if anyone dared to harm a single hair on Lu Xiaobai's head, he would exterminate their entire clan. Now, not only was Lu Xiaobai's hair injured, but Lu Xiaobai also vomited blood. Actually, whether he got injured or not was a small problem. The key was his attitude. If it was an ordinary martial artist attack, the king of the Eastern region wouldn't care too much. However, the attack of a great perfection expert was a provocation to the king of the Eastern region. In addition, the king of the Eastern region had previously said that there was a powerhouse committing a crime against him. How could the king of the Eastern region not be furious? Once the king of the Eastern region was enraged, there would definitely be an expert who would suffer. After the news was spread by these scouts, it soon spread throughout the entire Immortal Realms, causing an uproar in the Immortal Realms. There was actually a perfected stage powerhouse who dared to ambush Lu Xiaobai halfway. If it weren't for the protection of Lu Xiaobai and the others would have died. Yuanbua. Lord Yan's words had also spread. Yuanbua was very famous, and he was ranked in the top 10 of the Origin Realm. Was the Origin Realm trying to take revenge on the king of the Eastern region? The atmosphere in the Immortal Realms had become heavy recently. Everyone was waiting for the king of the Eastern region's response. The king of the Eastern region reacted after only 5 days. He issued a notice. Yuanbua had to go to the East King City to explain himself. If he didn't show up in half a month, he would have to bear the consequences. The king of the Eastern region's domineering attitude shocked the entire Immortal Realms. The anger hidden in the king's words also made many large clans tremble. The clans of the Eastern region in particular have been extremely low-key recently, afraid that they would be exterminated if they angered the king of the Eastern region. The Yuan family quickly responded, saying that Yuanbua had been in the Origin Realm and hadn't left recently. There must be a perfected stage powerhouse from another realm disguised as Yuanbua. The king of the Eastern region didn't respond. It was obvious that he would wait for half a month. If Yuanbua didn't show up, he would definitely go to the origin realm. Only the heavens knew how the situation would turn out. Would Yuanbua go? The entire immortal realms was discussing and guessing if Yuanbua would go. As the days passed, the atmosphere in the origin realm became more and more heavy. They didn't want to trigger a war between the eastern region and the origin realm. Many casinos even opened bets on whether Yuanbua would go to East King City. If Yuanbua went to East King City, he would die if he wasn't careful. East King wasn't the only one in East King City. There were many perfected stage powerhouses. Once the king of the eastern region was angered, he would die without a doubt. The king of the eastern region wouldn't be lenient when it came to killing. Half a month passed by quickly, but Yuanbua didn't appear in East King City. Today, East King City sent out another announcement. Yuanbua refused to come to East King City to explain. So the king of the eastern region was certain that Yuanbua was the murderer who attacked Lu Xiaobai. The eastern region would come out to kill Yuanbua in a few days. If the origin realm powerhouses dare to help him, the eastern region would be slaughtered as well. This announcement was tyrannical to the extreme. It was as if the king of the eastern region was the ruler of the entire immortal realms and could kill whoever he wanted. As soon as this announcement came out, all the origin realm cultivators panicked. Back then, the king of the eastern region had massacred half of the origin realm and suppressed it all by himself. At this moment, the king of the eastern region was like a demon god in the hearts of many origin realm clans. Just thinking of him made them tremble in fear. Since the king of the eastern region had made such an announcement, he wouldn't let it end so anticlimactic. Therefore, the battle in the origin realm was inevitable. Countless clans began to mobilize scouts towards the origin realm, waiting for the battle to break out so that they could get first-hand information. The origin realm was located in the center of the immortal realms. It wasn't connected to the eastern region, so it wasn't too far away. One only needed to pass through 2 territories of the Do realm. Many spies in the east were mobilized as well. They began to investigate the whereabouts of the king of the eastern region to see when they would make a move. According to the announcement, the king of the eastern region might not be the only one making a move. He might be mobilizing several cultivators of the Great Perfection realm as well. With so many cultivators on the move, there must be some traces. Unfortunately, they overestimated their scouts and spies. They couldn't find any traces of the king of the eastern region and the cultivators of the Great Perfection realm. A month passed by quickly. Master Yin had already returned to Xingyao City with Little White and the others. Master Yin let them out and said, "All right, you guys can teleport back to the Mystic Armor City. I won't go with you." Little White was confused. She blinked and asked, "Grandpa Yin, aren't you going back to the East King City?" Master Yun's family lived in the East King City. Now that Little White and the others were back, Master Yun's mission should have been completed. He should be going back to the East King City. "No." Lord Yin smiled, looked to the northwest, and said, "Your father is going to do something big, and we're going to accompany him and have some fun. Your dad has been glorious his whole life. In his old age, he wants to go out and show off. He wants the entire immortal realms to remember him forever. Just you wait. It won't be long before your dad shocks the entire immortal realms again. P.S. 4 chapters tomorrow. Third Master." Chapter 3465. In fact, it didn't matter whether the expert who attacked Little White was Yuanbua or not. It also didn't matter whether there was evidence or not. What the king of the eastern region needed was this excuse. Even without this excuse, the king of the eastern region would still find an opportunity to make a move. The king of the eastern region only had a few thousand years left in his life. Just as Lord Yin had said, he had lived a glorious life and dominated half of the celestial realm. Before he died, he also wanted to make the immortal realms tremble beneath his feet once more, making the generations of the immortal realms remember his name. Of course, he did this not only for himself, but also for Little White. Whitey had yet to fully mature, and the king of the eastern region had too many enemies. He was afraid that Whitey would be dismembered after his death. That was why he had to take action this time, intimidate immortal domain, intimidate all clans. In the next few thousand years, they would not dare to touch Little White, allowing it to grow smoothly. He wanted to make it so that before a mortal domain confirmed his death, no one would dare touch a single hair on Xiaobai's head. He wanted to express his determination. Little White and Lu Li were not qualified to get involved in such a big event. Little White had to teleport to the East King City with Lu Li and the others. By the time they returned, the king of the Eastern region had already left. Whitey also discovered that the 3 great perfection experts in the city had disappeared, leaving only 2 great perfection experts in charge of East King City. In addition to Lord Yun, the king of the Eastern region and his group of 5 experts had probably killed their way to the origin region. The Eastern region was different from the other regions. The king of the Eastern region was too strong, and most of the people here were immortal beasts. Immortal beasts respected the strong. As long as the king of the Eastern region was alive, the other immortal beasts would obediently submit to him, and there would be no rebellions. Therefore, Little White wasn't worried about the king of the East's safety. She just waited for news every day and let the hall master of the intelligence hall report the news as soon as possible. Lu Li had planned to go back to the Chaotic Star region as soon as he came back from the northern region. Given the current situation, it wasn't easy for him to leave. He could only wait for the outcome of the battle with the king of the East. If the king of the Eastern region died in battle, he would immediately escape with Little White. Not only was the Eastern region waiting for news, but the entire immortal region was also waiting for news. The Origin Realm had sent out countless scouts, and many spies had been mobilized as well, searching for information all over the world. Half a month later, the first news arrived. A large clan to the east of the Origin Realm had been massacred. The clan's Great Circle cultivator had been killed, along with 17 cultivators who were infinitely close to it. Several thousand soldiers had been killed as well. It was obvious that these several thousand soldiers had been killed casually. Otherwise, the entire tribe would have been wiped out. When news spread, the entire immortal domain was shaken. Originally, the immortal domain's martial artist thought that the king of the Eastern region would at most kill his way to the elemental immortal city, where Yuan Bo was. Who would have thought that the king of the Eastern region would not play by the rules and actually annihilate a large clan in the elemental realm? Was the king of the Eastern region planning to massacre all the Origin Realm clans? Not only the Origin Realm, even the entire immortal realms felt a chill. Had the Eastern king gone mad? If he slaughtered like this, he would incur the hostility of the entire immortal domain. One must know that the Eastern region king wasn't the strongest expert in the immortal realms. There were still 3 or 4 experts above him who were slightly stronger than him. What if he incurred the wrath of those experts? If one of the heavyweights gave the order, perhaps half of the immortal domain would take action and unite to kill the Eastern region king. Just one day later, the Eastern region issued a notice that listed 11 large clans. These clans were all related to Yuan Bo, and the king of the Eastern region stated that he was going to annihilate these 11 clans. Apart from these large clans, the rest of the clans would be fine as long as they stayed obediently. If anyone dared to attack them, they would be the enemies of the Eastern region. The notice also stated that if these 11 clans expressed that they were no longer related to Yuan Bo and no longer follow the Yuan family, the Eastern region could consider not listing them as targets of attack. Once the notice was out, the immortal domain's martial artists all heaved a sigh of relief. The Origin Realm was even more relieved. Only one clan that was announced was shivering in fear. They were indeed on good terms with Yuan Bo. Not only Yuan Bo, but these 11 clans were actually the Yuan family's hardcore supporters. Rather than saying that the king of the Eastern region was waging war against Yuan Bo, it was better to say that he was waging war against the Yuan family. Therefore, the king of the Eastern regions moved this time, and the notice was a strategy to sow discord. In the end, the king of the Eastern region wanted to annihilate the Yuan family. As the ruler of the Origin Realm, if the Yuan family mobilized all the experts of the Origin Realm, it would be very difficult for the king of the Eastern region to annihilate them. But this time, the king of the Eastern region only brought 4 great perfection realms. Therefore, he had to use some strategy to make those large clans not dare to help the Yuan family. This way, it would be easier for him to annihilate the Yuan family. Another piece of news was also confirmed. The king of the eastern region indeed only brought 4 great perfection realms. This made countless martial artists of the immortal domain sigh with emotion. The heaven-swallowing beast was indeed a tiger, incomparably domineering. After the king of the eastern region's report, many of the large clans of the origin realm also sensed something and knew the king of the eastern region strategy. The king of the eastern region was basically telling them in a roundabout way, I'm going to declare war against your boss. If you don't want to die, you better stay put. If anyone dares to jump out, I'll destroy you first. Many large clans immediately responded. For example, a large clan on the east side of the origin realm issued an announcement. They discovered a treasure trove here, and this treasure trove belonged to their clan alone. Anyone who dared to snatch it would be their clan's mortal enemy. Their clan king had already entered the treasure trove to investigate. Don't you dare act recklessly. This large clan's announcement conveyed one meaning in a roundabout way. Their great perfection realm expert had entered the treasure trove and was not with the clan. Since their great perfection realm expert had gone on a treasure hunt, they definitely wouldn't interfere in the battle between the king of the eastern region and the Yuan family. On the 3rd day, another large clan issued an announcement that their clan king had recently gained some enlightenment and was going into closed-door cultivation for 100 years. Their clan would also be sealed off. Nothing was more important than their clan king's closed-door cultivation. Of all times, why did he choose to do it now? Even an idiot would know that their clan didn't want to be involved in the battle between the king of the eastern region and the Yuan family. In the next half a month, 7 large clans issued announcements in succession. Either their clan king was in closed-door cultivation, or something major had happened within their clan, or there were all sorts of random problems. Either way, the meaning was that they wouldn't participate in the battle. The main reason for this situation was that the king of the eastern region's infamy was too great. Back then, the king of the eastern region had bathed the entire origin realm in blood and killed 4 great perfection realm experts all by himself. But the Yuan family had been unable to do anything to him. Now that the king of the eastern region was about to die, and he had 4 great perfection realm experts with him, all of whom were renowned sovereigns of the eastern region, how would they dare get involved in this battle? One misstep and their clan would be exterminated. Another reason was that the origin realm wasn't united. The reason for this disunity was also because of the king of the eastern region. Back then, the king of the eastern region had killed 4 great perfection realm experts, and 2 of them were from the Yuan family. In addition, more than 30 great perfection realm experts had been killed as well, greatly damaging the Yuan family's vitality and reputation. This was why many large clans in the origin realm weren't very willing to submit to the Yuan family. If the Yuan family was exterminated, wouldn't they have the chance to become the master of the origin realm? Chapter 3466. After the king of the eastern region and the others attacked once, they disappeared without a trace. Millions of scouts were searching for them at the origin region. However, warriors at the absolute peak could blend in with heaven and earth. How could regular warriors find them? Even though they were quiet, the entire immortal region knew that this was the calm before the storm. The next time they made a move, it would be earth-shattering and shocking. The entire eastern region was also waiting, and all of them were extremely excited. Little White returned to the city of mystic armor and was warmly welcomed by the citizens. Originally, they loved and respected Little White very much. Now, their love for Little White was even deeper. Little White did not put on airs. It entered the mystic armor city with a smile. It even chatted with some low-level warriors. Many ordinary warriors surrounded it, which made Master Yu and the others very nervous. They were afraid that there would be assassins. But the king of the eastern region was venting his anger. Only a powerful warrior with a screw loose would dare to try to assassinate Little White. What was more, Lord, you knew there was a hidden warrior at the absolute peak guarding the city. The city of mystic armor was safe. Luli found Mo Chantian, Wan Shi, and Yuyang. They were living well in the city of mystic armor. Even though they were only commanders, they were treated like patriarchs. They could go in and out of Little White's mansion. Powerful warriors in the city would have to be blind to provoke them. Mo Chantian and Luan Shi knew that Luli would go back to the Chaotic Star region after he came back. They were happy to know that Luli would only leave after the battle with the king of the eastern region. That night, the two sneaked into Lu Li's palace and began their shameless life. Little White came back victorious. Many powerful warriors and families invited Little White to a banquet. Little White drank so much that he forgot that his father was fighting at the Origin region. To Little White, the king of the eastern region was invincible. He could defeat the Origin region easily. Luli was dragged to banquets by Little White every day. After a few days, he was too lazy to go. He didn't want to have too much contact with the powerful warriors of the eastern region. He just needed to know Little White. For the next few days, he stayed in Xiao Bai's Lu mansion. He didn't participate in any banquets. When he was free, he would comprehend the traceless Tao and refine the divine medicine. 7 or 8 days later, Mo Chantian came back with an invitation card in her hand. She walked over with confusion, handed it to Lu Li, and said, "Lord Lu, there's a pretty lady inviting you to a date." "You heartless man, are you fooling around again?" Lu Li took over the invitation with a frown. He glanced over and was surprised to see a name written at the end. He had heard of this name, and he had even seen this woman before. Qi Shi. The heavenly enchantment Immortal Fox was the young master of the profound realm, one of the most powerful young mistresses in the immortal realm, and the ideal spouse for countless young masters. She seemed to have flirted with Little White in front of everyone in Lonely Moon City. What is this Immortal Fox up to? Luli frowned. Qi Shi had entered the city of mystic armor? He didn't hear Xiao Bai mention it before. Could it be that he snuck in? Qi Shi was so famous. How could Xiao Bai's subordinates not know that he had snuck in? Luli turned around and asked, "Chantian, this Qi Shifu has come to the mystic armor city. Don't you know?" "Yes," Mo Chantian said, "but there's a group of them. They said they are here to congratulate Xiao Bai on his victory. I didn't know Qi Shifu was among them. Is she famous?" "You don't know?" Luli rolled his eyes and said, "She is the future family patriarch of the Xian realm, one of the most famous women in the mystic realm." "The future family patriarch of the Xian realm?" Mo Chantian got nervous. She glanced at Lu Li and said, "When did you hook up with the future family patriarch of the Xian realm? Are you going to be the son-in-law of the Xian realm?" "You women," Lu Li said with a bitter smile. "She is here for Xiao Bai. How could she like me? I just don't know why she invited me to a banquet. Did she invite Xiao Bai? I don't know about that." Mo Chantian was a bit relieved. This kind of famous woman in the mystic realm was too threatening. She had an idea and said with a grin, "How about you show me around with you? I want to see what a girl who likes Xiao Bai is like. As his sister-in-law, I can help him check." "Okay." Luli thought about it and nodded. Anyway, he was not familiar with Qi Shi. It would be awkward for a man and a woman to be alone. It would be better for him to bring Mo Chantian. Mo Chantian was happy to hear this. She hurried away to change her clothes. Luli wanted to tell Xiao Bai about it, but Mo Chantian said she wanted to go. Luli decided not to. He wanted to see what Qi Shi was up to. Night fell. Luli went out with Mo Chantian to a famous restaurant in the city. The restaurant was not big, but it was elegant with a nice environment. They went into a palace in the back. Qi Shi was standing at the door to welcome them. The future family patriarch of the Xian realm, a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm, was here to welcome a warrior of the emperor realm. This made Lu Li feel very flattered. Lu Li was not a country bumpkin who had never seen the world. He knew very well that Qi Shi must have something to ask of him. Otherwise, with his status and power, how could Qi Shi be so courteous? After some small talk, Chi sure led Lu Li and Mo Chantian in. Chi sure came with two other ladies. The two ladies were of the fairy fox race. They were beautiful, and their eyes were full of affection. They were born with a sense of charm, which was something in their bones, not some kind of enchantment. Mo Chantian thought to herself that it was a tough day. Fortunately, she was here. Otherwise, the three vixens would have charmed Luli. Chi sure was dressed up today. She was stunning. She didn't use any enchantment on purpose, but every frown, every smile, and every move was full of charm. After a long time of admiration, Luli didn't want to waste time on these small talk. He cut to the chase and said, "Lady sure, if you have something to say, we can talk it out. There's no need to beat around the bush. I am a straightforward person. Please forgive me." Chi sure smiled gently, took a sip of wine, and said, "Young Master Lu, since you are so straightforward, I will not be pretentious. I heard, you and young Master Xiao Bai are brothers?" Sure enough, Lu Li and Mo Chantian looked at each other. Both of them smiled. Chi sure was here for Little White, as expected. Mo Chantian's smile grew bigger. Little White respected her and called her sister-in-law all the time. Mo Chantian was happy to play matchmaker for her little brother. Even though Chi sure was charming, she was of the fairy fox race, and this was the nature of the race. Mo Chantian didn't feel disgusted. She was a vixen herself, so she didn't mind. Chi sure was young, and she was very close to the consummate realm. She was the future family patriarch of the Xian realm. Her looks and identity were a perfect match for Little White. Luli thought about it and said, "Let me put it this way. Little White grew up with me." Oh, Chi sure's pretty face blushed, which made her even more beautiful. She lowered her head shyly. After a while, she said, "Young Master Lu, can I ask you a question? What kind of girls does young Master Xiaobai like?" Chapter 3467. Chi sure's intention was clear. She was asking Lu Li to beat around the bush and see how to get Lu Xiaobai's heart. At the same time, she wanted Lu Li to help her. Little White was not interested in her. He had been cold to her twice. Chi sure had a long way to go to get Little White's heart. Lu Li thought about it. He was not familiar with Chi sure. It was not appropriate for him to help Little White with a girl like her. In terms of status, Chi sure was a good match for Little White. But Little White did not seem to like immortal beasts. Little White grew up with Lu Li and was very smart. Even though it could not speak, its intelligence was no different from that of humans. It was even smarter than many people. Little White was deeply influenced by Lu Li, and he liked human girls. To Little White, he was a human, and immortal beasts were beasts, animals. How could a human be with an animal? Little White was an animal, but he disliked other animals. If people knew about this, all the warriors in the immortal region would laugh their heads off. Luli thought for a while and said, "I can only say that Little White is amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. Sincerity is the key to making friends with him." Mo Chantian did not think as far ahead as Lu Li. She said with a smile, "Little White has a good character. He is like an innocent boy. He is straightforward. I don't think the girl he likes is the kind of girl from a respectable family. Instead, a pretty girl from a humble family will be more attractive to him." Oh, Chi sure's eyes lit up. It seemed that Mo Chantian and Lu Xiaobai were close. She thought about it, picked up her goblet, and said, "Sister Chantian, I propose a toast to you. You are an intelligent beauty and a wonderful man like young Master Lu. You are a match made in heaven. A celestial couple. How enviable." The future family patriarch of the Xian realm called her sister, a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm. Mo Chantian was overjoyed. She began to talk with Chi sure. Luli had nothing to do after that. Luli was left aside. It was Mo Chantian and Chi sure who were chatting away. After chatting for half the night, Luli was ready to leave. However, Chi sure wanted to keep Mo Chantian here for a long talk. Luli had to leave. "Chantian, don't do anything rash. Little White is very assertive in this aspect. Moreover, Chi Shi's identity is special. If he has ulterior motives towards Little White, he will harm Little White. Luli decided to send a message to Mo Qianqian. She smiled and replied at once, "Don't worry. I'm not stupid. I'm staying to get some information and to help Little White." From the looks of it, Chi Shi won't give up on Little White easily. Isn't it better for me to help you find out more about him? Luli was relieved to hear this from Mo Qianqian. He said goodbye and left without telling Little White. Firstly, the mysterious realm and the eastern region were allies, so Chi Shi shouldn't be plotting anything. Secondly, even if Chi Shi and Little White were together, the king of the eastern region and the other old things would definitely be suspicious. Thirdly, Little White might not necessarily like Chi Shi. Therefore, Luli didn't take this matter to heart. He went back to cultivate while waiting for news from the king of the eastern region. The origin realm was still very quiet in the next few days. There was no news at all. Mo Qianqian came back the next day. Chi Shi had given her many gifts. She was good at winning people's hearts. Mo Qianqian told Luli about this. Luli didn't think it was a big deal. He told Mo Qianqian to accept the gifts. Mo Qianqian wouldn't be so stupid as to tell Little White that Chi Shi was a nice girl and that he should marry her. For the next few days, Chi Shi and Mo Qianqian spent all their time together, which benefited Luan Shi. She didn't go to the palace guards anymore. She spent all her time with Luli. 3 days later, Little White came to see Luli. Seeing Little White rushing in, Luli stood up and asked, "What is it? Is there any news about the origin realm?" "No." Little White waved his hand, not worried at all. "Don't worry about my father. He can handle it. He could wipe out the small origin realm years ago. How hard can it be now? I've been so busy drinking that I forgot one thing. Last time, I said I was locked up in a place by my father for hundreds of years. That place is a good place for body cultivation. Boss, you're a body cultivator as well. Why don't you go there and absorb some divine liquid? The divine liquid there is incredible. If you can absorb it for a while, your body will be 10 times stronger." Oh, Little White did mention this last time. Luli didn't think too much about it. After all, he didn't want to rely on the king of the eastern region to cultivate, in case the king of the eastern region would look down on him. After a pause, Luli said, "I don't think that is a good idea. The secret realm must be the most treasured place in the eastern region. Powerful warriors of the eastern region will gossip if I go there. Never mind. I have many elixirs, and I can take my time to refine my body." Who dares to gossip? Little White's eyes were wide open. "Boss, you have made a great contribution this time. If it weren't for you, Uncle Yu and the others would have died. I would have failed even if I survived. With your contributions, not to mention going in once, even if you went in 10 times, no one would dare to say half a word." Luli thought about it. What Little White said made sense. He wouldn't take advantage of the eastern region for nothing. He was someone who had made a great contribution. Luli said, "Okay, I will go and cultivate. When the matter at the mysterious realm is over and your father comes back, I will go back to the chaotic star region." Okay, Little White didn't try to persuade him. He took Luli's hand and walked out. Luli had to say something to Luan Shi. Little White had always been impulsive and would do whatever he wanted. There was no reasoning with him. Luli and Little White teleported to the East King City. The entrance to the secret realm was in a castle of the East King Palace. Little White took Luli in and arrived at a palace after many turns. There was a powerful warrior who was close to the consummate realm guarding the palace. The old man stood up and saluted when he saw Little White bringing Luli in. Little White said lazily, "Activate the teleportation altar. I want to take you there to cultivate." The old man was surprised. Then he said with a bitter smile, "Young master, without the order of the king of the eastern region, no other warriors can go in." The old man had been guarding the place. He didn't know Luli. How could he disobey the order of the king of the eastern region? If it were not for the fact that Little White was here, he would have thrown Luli out. Little White glared at him and said, "What are you talking about? Do you know who he is?" The old man still shook his head and said with a bitter smile, I don't know and I don't care. Without the order of the king of the eastern region, no other warriors can go and accept for you. Little White, let it go. Luli stopped Little White. It didn't matter if they couldn't go in. Physical cultivation was not something that could be done overnight. He didn't want to put Little White in a difficult position. Boom! Unexpectedly, Little White dashed to the back of the old man and slapped him. The old man was not prepared and was smashed out of the palace by Little White. As soon as they made a move, many powerful psychic powers came. The old man stood up with a bitter smile. He was about to say something when he suddenly stopped as if he had received a message from a powerful warrior. He shook his head and said, Okay, young master, take him in, but he can only cultivate for 3 months. Little White snorted discontentedly and pulled a long face. The old man activated the teleportation formation. Luli looked at Little White and followed him in. Chapter 3468. Inside was a small space filled with smoke, and Xianxi in heaven and earth was rich. As soon as Luli came in, he sensed something special that made him feel comfortable. There was a pond with white liquid in it. There was not much liquid in the pond. Little White must have absorbed too much last time. Only 1/10 of the pond was left. There was a small hole in the wall where the liquid was dripping out. The cave was sealed, and there was only one teleportation altar. Pointing to the liquid, Little White said, Boss, go ahead. You'll be fine after you absorb all the liquid in the pond. Luli asked, Is the liquid strong? Is there anything I need to be aware of? It is strong. Little White said the first time, slow down. Let your body get used to it. You will be fine. Don't worry. It will be fine. Okay. Luli walked to the pond and reached his hand into the pond. Nothing happened when he put his hand into the pond. However, when he mobilized his source energy to absorb the liquid, he felt his hand was burning as soon as the liquid entered his body. The energy is strong. Luli endured the pain and absorbed the energy. When his body got used to it, he would continue to absorb the liquid. The liquid was strong. It would take Luli the time for half an incense stick to burn after he absorbed some. If he wanted to refine all the divine liquid in the pool, it would probably take a few years. Little White. Luli thought about it and said, I will stay here for 3 months. You can go now. I will come out on my own in 3 months. It's okay. Little White waved his hand and said, I will deal with those stubborn old fools. The entire eastern region is my home. This is nothing. You cultivate here. I will come and find you if something happens. Little White left. Luli began to absorb the liquid bit by bit. It was indeed the best liquid in the world, ridiculously strong. Luli believed that after 3 months, his body would be 10 times stronger than before. He didn't think too much. He had to focus on absorbing the liquid first. The East King City was bustling with noise and excitement. Many warriors were gathered there, waiting for the latest news from the king of the Eastern region. However, the king of the Eastern region didn't do anything else after that. Nobody knew what he was up to. Little White went back to the city of mystic armor. Finally, Chi sure showed up. Lord Yu and the others knew about her, but they wouldn't point it out if she didn't come out. The mysterious region and the Eastern region were allies for many years. They were on good terms. They wouldn't mind if Chi sure caused some trouble, not to mention that she was here for fun. Since Chi sure had shown up, Little White must come out to entertain her. She was the future family leader of the same status as Little White. Little White must treat her with respect. The Mystic Armor City was well decorated. They received Chi Shifu with great pomp. White, and she was and was. White was and, she was, Bai was, Little B, and N and B, and as and Bai was. This made Xiao Bai a little puzzled. Chi had been very enthusiastic just now. Could it be that he had offended her in some way? As for why she brought Mo Qianqian out, she told Luli that she had met Luli once. Luli brought Mo Qianqian out with him. Their personalities were similar, and they became best friends who could talk about anything. This made Little White even more confused. Could it be that Chi sure liked Luli, trying to seduce his boss? He had a bad feeling in his heart. To him, Luli was known for his lecherous nature. Luli had so many sisters-in-law. If Chi sure seduced him, Jiang Qiling by Qiu Shue and by Xiaoshuang would not forgive him. Chi sure's actions were actually taught by Mo Qianqian. Mo Qianqian understood Xiao Bai's personality quite well. She knew that the better she treated him, the more he wouldn't care. That was because the entire eastern region doted on him, and countless young ladies adored him. If he wanted to find a woman, he would already have a bunch of concubines by now. Therefore, Mo Qianqian told Chi sure to be neither too enthusiastic nor too impatient. She wanted to attack his heart bit by bit, like boiling a frog in warm water. First, she had to gain Lu Xiaobai's approval and then build up their relationship and conquer him. Today, Chi sure bringing Mo Qianqian here was a clever move. In Little White's mind, Mo Qianqian was his boss's woman. She was his sister-in-law, one of his own. Chi sure and Mo Qianqian had become good friends, which changed the nature of the relationship. They had become one of his own instead of allies. After the banquet, Chi sure told Little White not to worry about her. She asked Mo Qianqian to take her around. She would wait here for the king of the eastern region to come back victorious and congratulate him on behalf of the Xian realm. Little White didn't want to worry about her. He just secretly sent a message to Mo Qianqian. He asked Mo Qianqian to keep an eye on Chi sure and not let her seduce Luli. Mo Qianqian was speechless. Lord Yu arranged for two powerful warriors and asked Mo Qianqian to be the tour guide to show Chi sure around. Mo Qianqian was happy to have a chance to travel at public expense, and she was protected by powerful warriors. She took Luan Shi with her and took Chi sure around the Mystic Armor City. Imperceptibly, Mo Qianqian's status in the Mystic Armor City had risen. After another half a month, there was finally news from the origin region. The king of the eastern region had made a move and almost wiped out a large family. More than half of the powerful warriors who were close to the full perfection realm of the family were killed. The one at the full perfection realm escaped with injuries. Just 2 days after the news spread, another shocking piece of news came. 7 great perfection experts of the Yuan family, including the Yuan family king, had been ambushed by the king of the eastern region and killed 3 great perfection experts. The Yuan family king had died in battle, and so had Yuan Bo. The entire mystic realm was shocked by the king of the eastern region's generosity. At first, many warriors were confused. The king of the eastern region had planned for a long time to attack a large family. How could the one at the full perfection realm of the family escape? Now they knew that the king of the eastern region let the one at the full perfection realm escape on purpose. The purpose was to lure the powerful warriors of the Yuan family to help. This full perfection realm was the most hardcore supporter of the Yuan family. The Yuan family had no choice but to help. The Yuan family only had 7 full perfection realms. All of them were dispatched to fight against the king of the eastern region. They had 5 full perfection realms, but 3 of them were killed. The most important thing was that the family patriarch, who was also the strongest in the origin region, was killed in battle. The king of the origin region was one of the strongest warriors in the mystic realm. No one expected that he would be killed, and so easily at that. It was said that only 3 of the king of the eastern region's powerful warriors were injured. The king of the origin region was personally killed by the king of the eastern region. There have been cases of realm kings being killed in history, but that was more than 1,000,000 years ago. The king of the eastern region had broken the record of more than 1,000,000 years ago and shocked the entire mystic realm. If the king of the eastern region wanted to occupy the origin region now, the origin region would probably have no power to resist. The king of the eastern region stopped while he was ahead. He sent a message that the savage beast that attacked Lu Xiaobai, Yuanbua, had been killed. The operation was over, and they would return to the capital. The entire mystic realm heaved a sigh of relief. They were afraid that the king of the eastern region would continue to kill. At that time, It might change the structure of the mystic realm and cause even more turmoil. P.S. added. Chapter 3469. The king of the eastern region had returned to the imperial court with victory. Luli had been cultivating for about 3 months. He opened his eyes on time and came out of the pond. The powerful warrior guarding outside said that Luli must come out in 3 months. Luli didn't want to put Little White in a difficult position. After cultivating for 3 months, his physical body had grown by more than 10 times. The liquid was powerful. Luli absorbed more than half of the liquid into the Dharma realm to refine the Dharma realm, so that the Dharma realm could be more powerful. Little White had said that it didn't matter if all the divine liquid here was sucked dry. Luli would not hold back. After all, the divine liquid was constantly being produced. He teleported out. The patriarch outside summoned a saint king to take Luli to the mystic armor city. Luli walked out and found the entire East King city was in an uproar. The news of the king of the eastern region's great victory had already spread, and the whole East King city was celebrating. Countless people went to the streets and cheered loudly. As long as you won. Luli smiled as well. This battle between the king of the eastern region could ensure the safety of the eastern region for thousands of years to come. At the very least, Little White would be safe wherever it went. If the king of the origin realm could be killed, then the king of the south, the king of the north, and the king of the west could also be killed. No one dared to bet on the destruction of their entire race just to kill Lu Xiaobai. The Yuan family could be considered to have suffered a complete blow this time. They might not even be able to keep their position as the master of the origin territory. Even if they managed to protect it, the origin realm was probably the weakest realm in the immortal realms. Any other realm could bully and humiliate them. In the next tens of thousands of years, they would have to be careful of being attacked by other realms. Now that the realm king had been killed, the morale of the entire origin realm was extremely low. Many low-level cultivators had even begun to quietly leave the origin realm. This was because they were worried that the other realms would attack the origin realm in the near future. When the origin realm summoned them, would they fight or not? Moreover, the soldiers were also worried that a large clan would try to seize the position of origin realm king. The origin realm would fall into chaos then, and the flames of war would rise everywhere. It was better to escape as soon as possible. After all, they were just the lowest-ranked soldiers. It was the same no matter where they went. Luli teleported back to the city of mystic armor. He found Little White and told it that he was going back to the Chaotic Star region. Originally, he didn't want to wait for the king of the eastern region to return and was ready to leave immediately. After being away for so many years, he was a little worried about the Liu family. Boss, wait a little longer. When my father comes back, I'll personally send you to the exit of the eastern region's immortal domain, Little White said with a grin. Seeing that Little White was determined, Luli didn't say much. Anyway, the king of the eastern region would only be back for half a month to a month, so 1 month wouldn't make much of a difference. Qi Shishir was still hanging out with Mo Qianqian and Luan Shi. Every day, they would go out and have fun. Luli found Yu Yang and told him that he was going back. Yu Yang said that he would send his regards to his forefather and tell him about the situation here. Luli would stay here for hundreds of years until he was infinitely close to the consummate realm. Only an idiot would want to return to this place as a commander and receive the treatment of an elder. With such a good opportunity in front of him, he would naturally want to grasp it well and break through to the Paragon realm. When Mo Qianqian and Luan Shi came back, Luli asked them if they wanted to go back. Neither Mo Qianqian nor Luan Shi wanted to go back. This was a rare opportunity, and they might miss it if they went back. They had barely stabilized their position in the Mystic Armor City. Who knew what would happen when they returned? If it weren't for Luli, they would still be an insignificant soldier at the southern region, climbing up step by step. They might be harmed by some demons, or they might die in a chaotic battle. How many martial artists couldn't sit in their position even if they spent tens of thousands of years? How could they give up after receiving such treatment? Luli could understand. There was no point for them to go back now. They couldn't improve their status in the god of death. It was like they didn't come to the mystic region to gain experience. They couldn't go back in glory without making a name for themselves. What was the point of going back with their tails between their legs? Luli didn't push them. He could come in from the entrance of the eastern region at any time. With Little White here, it would be much easier and safer for him to go back. After more than half a month, the king of the eastern region came back. All the family patriarchs and powerful warriors of the eastern region went to the East King City to welcome the king of the eastern region back and to celebrate his victory. Naturally, Little White was there. So was Chi Sure, the southern region of the Doe realm, and even the northern region sent messengers to congratulate the king of the eastern region. The southern region and the northern region were afraid that the king of the eastern region would beat them up. They were here to express their goodwill. Luli went with them and saw the king of the eastern region. He looked completely different from Little White. He also had the special appearance of an immortal beast, unlike Little White, who looked like a human. Domineering. The king of the eastern region gave Luli only one feeling: domineering. He just sat there, not saying anything, but he gave off a pressure like Inti pressing down on them, making them feel suffocated and terrified. The king of the eastern region was a man of few words. When the powerful warriors went to congratulate him, he just nodded. Only when Little White went to congratulate him did he show a rare smile and said, "Little White, my son, you are not a child anymore. It is time to settle down and cultivate." Hee. Little White smiled mischievously and said, "Don't worry, Dad. When I am done with this, I promise you that I will go into closed-door cultivation." With that said, Little White dragged Luli and said, "Dad, this is my big brother, Luli. If it weren't for him, I would have been screwed over by Bo." Swish, 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 the hall was filled with powerful warriors of the eastern region. There were at least 400 or 500 of them, and all of them were close to the completion. There must be some at the completion as well, but Luli just couldn't tell. Many people looked over at Little White's introduction. They had heard of Luli, but for many warriors, it was the first time they had seen him. To many warriors, Little White was the future king of the eastern region. Naturally, the big brother of the king of eastern region deserved more attention. Luli walked over, bowed, and said, "Greetings, king of the eastern region. Congratulations on your victory." The king of the eastern region stared at Luli for the time for several breaths before he said, "Luli, you are good. From now on, do a good job at the eastern region." What? The crowd was in an uproar. The king of the eastern region had always been a man of few words, but he could say so much. He even said that Luli was good and told him to do a good job. The meaning was clear. He would focus on supporting Luli. As long as Luli could improve his realm and strength, he would be able to sit in a high position at the eastern region. As one of the top overlords of the mystic region, the king of the eastern region would not say anything easily. This meant that Luli had gained his approval. Not only could he play with Little White, but he could also develop well at the eastern region. Little White was overjoyed, but before he could say anything, Luli bowed again and said, "Thank you, king of the eastern region. I miss my family, so I will go back to the Chaotic Star region tomorrow. Today, I am here to say goodbye to you." How dare you? How dare you? You don't know how to appreciate favors. The group of powerful warriors flew into a rage. The king of the eastern region had just told Luli to do a good job, but Luli immediately refused the king of the eastern region and wanted to leave. This was a public humiliation to the king of the eastern region. All right, seeing that Little White was about to say something, the king of the eastern region waved his hand and said, "I respect your decision. Go." All powerful warriors had pride and dignity. The king of the eastern region had been famous in the mystic region for hundreds of thousands of years. He would not be happy if Luli refused in public. Naturally, he would not say anything more. Luli didn't say anything more. He bowed slightly, nodded to Little White, turned around, and strode out. The third master. Chapter 3470. Not long after Luli left, Little White came out and took Luli back to his mansion. Little White asked Luli to stay here, and he would make some arrangements so that he could leave with Luli tomorrow. With that said, Little White left. Luli stayed here and waited for Little White's news. He was not in the mood to work for East King. He had nothing else to do in the Immortal region. Naturally, he was in a hurry to go back. He had 2 supreme divine weapons, and he needed to study the Traceless Way. He had a lot of things to do, and he didn't have to look for opportunities in the Immortal region. Luli stayed in Little White's mansion for a day. Little White came back the next day. As soon as he came back, he said excitedly, "Okay, boss, everything is ready. We can go at any time. Let's go back to the Mystic Armor City first." Luli nodded. Before he left, he should say goodbye to Chan and the others. Little White teleported him back to the Mystic Armor City. He found Chan and the others. After they had a meal, Little White left with Luli with a group of powerful warriors. Luli found Lord Yu and the other 4 powerful warriors. Chi also joined them. Luli waved his hand and said, "You don't have to see me off. Maybe I will come back to the Immortal region after dozens or hundreds of years." Lord Yu and the others looked at each other. Before they could say anything, Little White dragged Luli out and said, "Boss, don't worry. Let's go." Luli was dragged out by Little White. Luli didn't have much to say. He entered the teleportation formation under the escort of the powerful warriors. They teleported to the East King City again and entered a teleportation altar. They teleported for half a day. They appeared in a castle. This was the easternmost city of the Eastern region, East Peace City. The entrance to the Immortal region was here. The city lord had been waiting for them. After bowing to Little White, he asked, "Young master, do you want to rest for a couple of days?" "Never mind." Little White waved his hand and said, "Let's go to the entrance." By led a group of experts and advanced majestically. They arrived at a large mountain outside the city. There was also a shining golden gate on the mountain, but there were no experts guarding it. The entrance was open. It was easy to go out, but needed the key to the Immortal region to enter. "All right." Luli cupped his fists in front of his chest and said, "Even if you can escort a gentleman for 1,000 miles, you still have to say goodbye. Little White, cultivate well. If anything happens, send someone down to send me a message. If the situation worsens, inform me immediately." Little White smiled. He did not look sad at all. He grinned and said, "Boss, no need to be so polite. We still have to see you off. We will talk about it after we get to the Chaotic Star area." "What?" Luli blinked. He suddenly understood why so many powerful warriors came to see him off. He did not have the honor to do so. So Little White was going to follow them to the heavenly chaotic starfields? Does that mean Chi is going as well? And Chan, who was beside Chi, was going back as well? Didn't he say that he wouldn't go back? Luli glared at Chan, who replied with an apologetic smile, "Darling, don't blame me. I just found out. Shur wants to go to the heavenly chaotic starfields and needs my company. I'm not going home. I'm on official business." Luli paid no more attention to Chan. He turned to Little White and said, "You can go to the chaotic star region with me. Does your father agree?" "Yes." Little White grinned and said, "I went to see my father yesterday. I promised him that I will go to the chaotic star region for 10 years, and then I will go into closed-door cultivation. My father agreed." "You." Luli shook his head. He looked at Lord Yu and the other 4 powerful warriors and said with a frown, "The chaotic star region is a messy place. There are some warriors at the absolute completion level. Little White's identity is special, and there is Lady Shur. I will be held responsible if my enemies try to assassinate them. In the Immortal region, no powerful warriors dared to do anything. But in the chaotic star region, what if the major families here instructed a warrior at the absolute completion level to assassinate Little White and Chi Shur? What would he do then? The warriors of the God of Death could fight against a warrior at the absolute completion level. They couldn't possibly stay with Little White and Chi Shur all the time. "Boss, don't worry." Little White didn't mind at all. He said, "Don't worry, boss. Grandpa Yun is with them, and there is a warrior at the absolute completion level protecting Chi Shur. Also, boss, you must be careful about this sure. I think he is trying to seduce you. Otherwise, why would he say he wants to go to the chaotic star region? You have to stay calm, otherwise my sisters-in-law will skin me alive. Ah. Luli touched his neck in embarrassment. With Little White's EQ, he could say goodbye to dating. Luli didn't say anything, but he was relieved. With 2 warriors at the absolute completion level, they could do whatever they wanted in the chaotic star region. Lord Yun was a powerful warrior. Luli knew what sure was planning with the excuse of going to Mo Qianqian's house, but he didn't point it out. The king of the eastern region must know about this. If the king of the eastern region wasn't worried, then why should Luli? Let nature take its course. Let's go then. Luli didn't try to persuade him. Little White's personality was not to his liking anyway. He wouldn't be able to cultivate in peace in the immortal region. He might as well let him have some fun. Also, Little White and Bai Xiaoshuang were close like siblings. It would be good to go back and see them. The group of powerful warriors entered the Golden Gate and soon disappeared into it. When they were outside, Luli didn't have to worry about anything else. Lord Yu took out his battleship, and the group of powerful warriors boarded. Then the battleship whizzed away towards the chaotic star region. Luli didn't see Lord Yun or the 2 warriors at the absolute completion level protecting Qi Shi. The battleship had 2 floors. Theoretically speaking, Little White and Qi Shi should be living on the top floor. However, they both chose to live on the bottom floor. The 2 warriors at the absolute completion level must be living on the top floor. Luli didn't worry about them. It was more than half a year's journey from here to the chaotic star region. Lord Yu's battleship was fast, so they could get there in half a year at most. Luli didn't even bother to cultivate during the half a year's time. He just chatted with Little White on the deck every day. Qi Shi was very patient. He didn't take the initiative to flirt with Little White. Instead, he was cold and indifferent. Little White was even more suspicious that this enchantress of Fairy Fox was trying to flirt with Luli by hanging out with Mo Qianqian all day. It was a safe journey. They didn't run into any battleships, except for some when they were approaching the chaotic star region. But Little White had 5 powerful warriors that were very close to the absolute completion level, and Qi Shi had 3. Including the 2 of them, there were 10 warriors that were very close to the absolute completion level. Those battleships had sensed it before they got close, and they moved away. I am back. Luli looked at the sparkling sea of stars in the distance. He was excited. This was his home, where the Lu family was located. He was finally back after so many years in the immortal region. My right eyelid is twitching. Nothing bad happened, right? The closer they were to the chaotic star region, the more Luli had a bad feeling. He was confused. The Lu family was inside the god of death. As long as he was alive, the god of death would not fall. Theoretically speaking, the Lu family should be fine. Why did he feel so uneasy? Third Master, you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.